This is Cybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Infinity Isle for game number 1 of For the Win 81. This is the upper bracket finals. This is a dual elimination event, but we'll get into all the details in just a moment. Playing as the random Red Empire on the left side, this is DDF.
And XYHC here, looking on the right of the map, we have the Yellow Empire. This is Demon.
Welcome, XYHC. If you guys have not heard of XYHC, he's a Red Alert 3 content creator, maybe a little bit more of a streamer and player than I am, but he has a great Red Alert 3 focused YouTube channel. Maybe you do some other things as well, but we only really care about your Red Alert 3 stuff. But if you guys don't know XYHC, his link will be in the description. Check out his channel. If you like Red Alert 3, then I think you will really like some of his stuff. And sometimes I make little inside jokes about Yurii wanting to be a juggler in the circus or stuff like that. And a lot of those inside jokes I just steal directly from XYHC. So make sure you check him out. This is the upper bracket finals of For the Win number 81. It was a recent dual bracket or double elimination event, and so we're coming into a best of 5 series between DDF and Demon. Demon choosing to play Empire and DDF choosing to play Random. Definitely a bizarre choice. How does that make you feel going into the finals?
I mean, it feels like DDF is not really taking this seriously. With the opponents like Demon, maybe he just wasn't even trying at this point, but it's a finals game. Nobody would normally play their offhand factions during a finals game, but perhaps he's counting on some potential unknown factors to catch Demon by surprise. For example, in a EVE, it's so crucial to rush out your Mega Bay, and if Demon did not know DDF was playing as Empire, DDF could potentially get some amount of advantage from playing random.
Right, he gets those first couple of seconds for free. Harvester does actually end up going down on the other side of the map. I did think DDF was going to be able to save the Harvester, but he ended up losing it. So yeah, DDF maybe gets a couple of seconds for free at the beginning of the game, and we'll see if DDF sticks with random. Historically, Demon has a winning record, especially in tournament games, versus DDF, but now we see the harassment kind of flipping to the other side. Demon went for a bit of Harvester harassment, DDF going for a bit of Harvester harassment. It looks like he will eventually get the kill on the Harvester.
DDF did throw away 3 Tengus in the process, which is not already very not ideal for a EVE matchup, especially since DDF is also behind on economy. So at this point, unless he sells MCV, it's gonna be very hard for him to catch up on Tengu numbers. And Demon's going to be able to seize this advantage he has at the moment and immediately go in with the superior number of Tengus to cause some serious damage.
All right, Demon splits off 1 Tengu. He's once again trying to focus on multitasking to tear his opponent apart. He is... okay, he's going to run away. He almost sticks around there, but the MCV is a little bit too scary for Demon to hang around next to DDF. Tengu does go down for Demon. DDF trying to bring in a couple of extra tank busters, but, well, one just gets annihilated, and Demon is going to escape, it looks like, with... no, maybe he's not. Maybe he's turning back around, going for another couple of shots against the Harvester, and Demon had a Tengu advantage, but in this moment, DDF has a distinct Tengu advantage. Demon going for the double harass once again, a Harvester on the north side of the island and the Harvester on the south side of the island, both potentially under threat. And Demon losing Tengus in the north. He's going to try and go for the power plant in the south. It's a weird engagement from Demon for sure.
Absolutely. With the EVE matchup, you don't really want to avoid throwing away Tengus during harassment, and right now Demon has thrown away way more Tengus than DDF has. So now the match has again turned into DDF's favor.
There haven't been that many Harvester kills in this game, but there has been so much lost mining time. Demon and DDF both hovering under 1,000 resources for a big chunk of this game. DDF completely bottoming out there, having to cancel those walls after he just barely got them out. And he's got that Harvester offline, just healing up at the War Factory. And Demon is finally enjoying a bit of well-earned rest with his Harvesters actually working full-time.
Demon seemed to be trying to trying to annoy DDF a little bit with those 3 Tengus landed constantly running around in DDF space. Really, they weren't really gonna do much damage, so I think it was kind of a mistake that DDF was keeping his entire Tengu army at bay just to chase after the 3 Tengus. And that's giving Demon some time to catch up on Tengu numbers and occasionally send in some additional harassments.
Power plant getting down to about half health. DDF does transform a couple of Tengus, but Demon is going to be able to escape. Barely gets scraped by some of the Tengus of DDF, but once again, DDF saves the Harvester, but he's just lost so much mining time over the course of this game. Both of these guys, again, extremely low on income, extremely low in cash flow. And they both have the oil derrick, which is, I don't know, maybe the easiest target that the other one has. Point defense drones come in for DDF. One Tengu comes in harassing for Demon.
You can tell that clearly Demon is the player among the two with more experience playing as Empire. You can see that he's always splitting up his Tengu armies, harassing from all angles, while DDF's Tengu armies are always clumped together. So Demon kind of has more oppressiveness with harassment.
It does feel like DDF has been slowly gaining a Tengu advantage in terms of just numbers. With point defense drones, that's even more powerful. The repairs as well from the Mecha Bay being right there is also super useful. But yeah, as you said, DDF has not gone to the other side of the map. He hasn't split his Tengus to go on any kind of aggression for a long time.
Precisely, and now Demon can just keep on trying to buy time, trying to delay DDF's mining, forcing those harvesters being pulled offline to be repaired, so that Demon can secretly amass a bigger Tengu army in order to go for a final confrontation later on.
All right, DDF is going to push Demon out of his base once again on the north side of the map. They're both with low health Tengus. Barely, DDF does win the fight. They're both losing a couple of Tengus here and there, but it looks like DDF still has the Tengu advantage. If he's actually able to jump over to the other side of the map, he may be able to end the game. But Demon went from a Tengu advantage to a Tengu disadvantage by letting his Tengus get kind of sliced off one by one. So depending on how DDF chooses to engage, the exact same thing could happen to him. They've both gone tier 2 on their Mecha Bay, and it feels like Demon has had the more consistent income, but he really doesn't have much more in the way of tier 2 than DDF does. It's not like he was majorly ahead on the tier 2 timing.
Absolutely, and when it comes to tier 2 Empire engagements, you still want a massive Tengu number to support your VXs. So right now DDF is absolutely at the upper hand.
We'll see. Demon has many times in the past turned around bad engagements where, you know, you look at the armies and it's like, ooh, this is going to be really tough for Demon, and then he just absolutely smashes it. Or you look at an engagement, it's like, I don't know how Demon will win this, and then he ends up winning it. So he is definitely not out of it, even if he is at a numerical disadvantage. Comes in for the harassment. Once again, he's inside of DDF's base. The Harvester gets away for the current moment. Tengu's clashing in the middle. Strikers get a couple of shots off, but it's not enough to claim any losses.
Having such a good number of strikers being kept on the ground is really going to grant Demon an edge with any Tengu engagements, but of course, for now DDF is going to be cautious enough to not throw Tengus just in like that.
Tsunami tanks going to be engaging against each other. One almost gets caught, but the second will get killed, and DDF may have to trade out a couple of Tengus for this Tsunami tank kill. This might be an angle for one of these guys to win this game. It's been such an awkward back and forth for so long. And now it's going to be the Tsunami tanks next to each other in the middle of the Tengu armies. Strikers are also marching their way to the front line, and the numbers from DDF are winning the day, but can he actually cross the map? For now, he's going to give up. He's going to stay back home. Demon is re-engaging. Are you kidding? He gets 2 fresh Tsunami tanks, and he immediately re-engages into this fight. He's hoping his numbers can even things out. His better tank numbers can even things out, rather. But Demon is, I feel like he's just going to have to back off here. Is he really going to commit into this attack further?
The thing is, while distracting DDF on the front, Demon has been going for some Harvester harassments, and right now a Harvester is actually heavily damaged and offline, so Demon is potentially hoping to count on those distractions to get an economic advantage.
Once again, Demon and DDF both basically scraping the bottom of the barrel economy-wise. Fresh point defense drones for DDF, so he does have that advantage. Demon has been pushing in and pushing in and pushing in, but I don't know, at some point it feels like it's just going to be too many losses for Demon, and that might be right now. One Tsunami Tank taking a bit of damage. Demon trying to save it, trying to re-engage with his additional Tsunami Tanks. More point defense drones, certainly on the side of DDF, gives him a huge advantage.
Nobody lost any Tsunami Tanks in that previous engagement, which was actually pretty impressive. Demon's doing pretty well preserving his Tsunami Tanks, and looks like he's going to catch a lot of major Tango kills here. DDF might be taking too big of a risk in going for that Harvester.
Strikers coming in at the last moment, and Demon actually didn't claim that many Tengu kills. It was a couple, and he's got the harassment on the other side of the map. So I guess this will kind of even things out. But Tengus from Demon re-engaging over the water, and DDF going to have to back off here. It feels like DDF still has the better Tengu numbers.
Absolutely, DDF actually played that out very well and micros quite well. Right now, DDF's firing at his own Mega Bay.
Oh, he just takes a couple of, takes a little bit of HP off of it, unfortunately for himself. But Demon, so much harassment early on, and ultimately, I guess it hasn't paid off. DDF is starting to do his own harassment after so long of just defending. He's going to at least find the oil derrick.
Taking down an oil derrick is absolutely going to spell life or death in an EVE matchup, because any economic difference is going to allow you to develop a bigger Tango army. So DDF has earned a tremendous victory by taking down the oil while distracting Demon on the back of his base, forcing the Tangus to chase after that one stray Tangu.
Yeah, the pulling his entire army into the corner. Point defense drones have just expired for DDF. Demon does not engage fast enough, so he's not able to take advantage of that. The tank numbers are in favor of DDF. Demon is going for a last-ditch harassment with a single Tango on the outside of the island. And Demon can still turn this engagement around. DDF's army is hugely separated. We'll see if Demon is able to do anything with that. For now, DDF is closing the gap, moving in. Demon now has the jaws of a monster at the top of his ramp.
It might be a good idea for Demon to keep his VXs in the air so they're ready to land at any moment and could poke some hits onto the Tsunami Tanks on the opposing army.
Just try and pop off some shots right on the edge of range there, yeah. That might be...
Precisely, because at this point he's really behind with tank numbers.
Ooh, loses another Tengu. He keeps splitting off these single Tengus, but he's actually been behind in economy for a little while.
Absolutely.
Losing additional Tengus is no good at this point.
Yeah, but sacrificing them just for some explosion damage onto Harvesters could potentially be worth it, but so far he has not gotten many Harvester kills at all.
DDF skirting danger on the edge of the map there, on the edge of Demon's base. Demon goes for more Harvester harassment. DDF circling over the middle of Demon's base, and Demon cutting and running in the middle of the map. Loses one Tsunami Tank. Hey, that was, I guess he heard you in the past. He sends his choppers into the sky, and he gets a free Tsunami Tank with them.
Precisely.
That was great for DDF.
Demon did manage to get a Harvester kill. This could be the turning point for him.
It's just been so tight, so back and forth this whole game. It feels like there's been 1,000 little things. Oil derrick being down for Demon is good, but he's killed more Harvesters. They both got tier 2 around the same time. Point defense drones come back in for DDF. They both have a good number of Tsunami Tanks. It looks like DDF still has the superior numbers. We'll see if the MCV can change that. Demon is feeling worried, but DDF backs off. So hesitant to commit to an attack all game long.
Again, Demon's very relentless with those single Tango harassments. You can always see him constantly sending a single Tango all the way around the map to get some eco harassments while Libra's being occupied at the center of the map. So those could really turn the game around, and again, I feel like Demon's very good at managing armies at all fronts.
For two guys who normally play a very, explosive style, this game has had a lot of false starts between the two of them. Tengus commit in. They do not grab any kills. One Tengu goes down, and Demon commits in with the Tengu on the other side of the map for harassment. He's going to go for the Harvester once again. A fresh power plant getting added on for DDF.
Gets a third refinery as well for DDF.
Wow.
So at this point, he's looking to seal the deal.
He's just playing this one out so like nice and slow and steady.
Precisely. It's very surprising considering he's mostly a Soviet player, and I have never seen him play other factions.
Yeah, we do have two Soviet mains, one playing random and one off-racing, resulting in this very weird back-and-forth EVE between two Soviet players. Final squadron comes in, but the big engagement in the middle is going to be tsunami tanks from Demon trying to go for that honorable discharge on top of DDF, and DDF is once again going to be pushing Demon back. The better numbers for most of the game now are giving DDF his advantage. Demon is going to try and re-engage. He brought everything off of the front line, and now he's going to try and bust right back through. Point defense drones expire, but it's going to be Emperor's Rage and fresh point defense drones coming in from DDF. Demon can run, but if he stays to fight, he's going to lose to the firepower of DDF, and DDF is shaving off tank after tank after tank. Demon trying to split the map, trying to create confusion and chaos on the other side. It looks like he gets at least one Harvester, maybe gets a second one with these other additional Tengus, and he's trying to go for the Strikers. One Striker dangerously low on health, but it does survive, and Demon, surely that is a bridge too far. He must be done from this point.
And going for Final Squadron early on was a huge mistake made for Demon. He did have the superior army number after DDF got his third refinery, but because DDF got Emperor's Rage instead of any other upgrades, he was able to hold his ground, and now his economy is slowly stabilizing once again.
I cannot believe that Demon is still in this game. Loss after loss after loss. He has kept himself barely in with Harvester harassment, but it feels like no oil derrick, no third refinery. At some point, it just has to come crashing down. No, Demon almost gets the refinery.
Oh yeah, precisely. Demon is very relentless and definitely in this fight, but when your opponent has three refineries, just one above you, you're just kind of forced to keep on throwing away your units just to keep an even economic ground. Right now, Demon is forced to keeping on harassing, playing overly aggressive, probably more aggressive than to his liking.
All right, Final Squadron is coming in once again. This didn't work out super well last time. DDF is also adding on a barracks in his main base. Final Squadron lands, but most of them miss. Good defense there by DDF, and Demon is once again trying to single Tengu harass in the back door. This north side refinery in the main of DDF has taken so much harassment over the course of this game. So many attacks brought in by Demon.
At this point, it might be worth for DDF to just build a mega bay around that particular refinery just to get additional survivability for the Harvester.
Yeah, so he doesn't have to keep pulling it off the line for the repairs. The barracks is up. Tank busters are being produced. Point defense drones are back online for DDF. This is feeling almost like a reverse. It feels like Demon is normally the guy who's looking like DDF, and he's forcing his opponent to take bad engagements and throw away units into weird engagements. But in this case, Demon is kind of just floundering for maybe the last 5-10 minutes or however long this game has been going on. Demon has been trying to get that critical damage done, and it just keeps not working.
Absolutely, DDF is really securing an edge, and the game is snowballing constantly into his favor. Just with him having a superior Tengu number and having all those defense drones on Tengus constantly, he's able to clear out any harassments with VX while safely staying in the air, which is absolutely going to turn the game in his favor in the long run.
VXs get caught. DDF once again finding some of Demon's units and getting a kill, but Demon won't stop with one Tengu on the north side of the island. It's a big giant Tengu harassment attack in the main base of Demon. Surely this must be the end. It must be doom and destruction. GG gets called, and Demon takes the L. That game felt like it was in a stasis. It was just in like this weird back and forth lockdown for like 12 of those 20 minutes.
It is absolutely fantastic for an EVE. People usually think those matches are boring, but this particular one involved a lot of army compositions, going back and forth, constant harassments, and both players played splendidly.
You do have a joke about from EVE Online, and you were like, EVE, it's only
Yeah.
Tengus. And it's like, that was 80% of that game was just Tengus and like angles of engagement. But I mean, eventually we did get tier 2. Eventually we did get some other things, but
Normally, you don't even see that much tier 2 at all.
DDF takes an extremely strung out game here on Infinity Isle, puts him 1 point up against Demon. And that takes us to Battle Base Beta for game number 2. It's not dire straits just yet because this is a best of 5, but playing random once again on the north side of the map. This is DDF.
And over on the south side of the map, we have the now blue Empire. This is Demon.
Demon sticking with Empire and DDF randomly getting Soviets. So this definitely works out, I feel like, in DDF's favor. But then again, there have been many games of the last 2 years of this exact matchup. DDF and Demon are both normally Soviet players, but Demon for a long time has opted to play Empire against Soviets instead of a Soviet mirror matchup. So this kind of feels normal.
Precisely, Demon does really enjoy the initiative you can take with Empire, harassing all over the place, and Soviets are just inherently a passive faction, so you could say that Demon has quite an advantage in this matchup, especially since he likes pulling off all the tricks he hates going against as the Soviets player.
He also goes fast third refinery, apparently. I'm actually pretty surprised by this by Demon. He goes a super fast third ref. We'll see if DDF is able to do anything about this. It's interesting, you give the advantage to Demon. I was kind of thinking because DDF is playing random and Demon doesn't know he's up against Soviets at the beginning, that might change the way he opens, and so that would potentially give an advantage to DDF. So it's interesting that you were siding more on the Demon side of things. I guess.
Well, you were totally right. Demon was not aware of him being against Soviets, so he went for a third refinery anyway. Like normally you would never risk against a Soviet with third refinery, so now Demon has to immediately spend money on the docks instead of getting mecha bailouts, so that he can handle any terror drones.
Yeah, Demon, he is way behind on his Mecha Bay timing, but at the DDF finds the perfect angle. This is going to force either a Tengu or a Yurii mini-sub or something out of Demon to take care of that terror drone, which has completely negated his third refinery. At the same time, DDF is going to be harassing with a couple of conscripts, a couple of sickles as well, but the conscripts are going for that oil derrick, which is just, if they get the kill, going to set Demon even further behind.
Demon can absolutely not afford to build any areas at this point. He has to invest a lot into his land armies, going for those burst drones to kill off sickles, otherwise any terror drone lockdown and on his Tengus at the entrance of the Mecha Bay and the game would be over at that point.
Oh, this is not looking good for Demon. Now, one thing that we don't know, because we don't have the chat log replay, is we don't know if DDF has been doing the not required, but definitely courteous thing. Oh, he gets a Yurii mini-sub anyways. The not courteous thing of displaying his faction in-game. So in other games, people will post in the chat, in the all chat, you know, I'm Soviets, whatever it is. They'll post the letter that responds to their faction at the beginning. And maybe DDF was doing that, but we don't know. So Demon may have known how to open, but it may have been a mystery.
It's quite a possibility for sure, and DDF has been pressing onto his economic advantage, and now, despite Demon having opened with 3 refineries, DDF is absolutely ahead economically, after Demon's third refinery got nullified for the majority of the game.
And I mean, we see that even in their income at this very moment, DDF climbing up to 2,600 in the bank. Demon has been under 1,000 for much of this game, and DDF is actually moving his MCV as well. I was kind of wondering if he was going to go for a base push, but he's at least going down to the south. He's got a hammer tank, a terror drone, and a bullfrog kind of locking down the middle of the map, and he is pivoting his MCV down to the south.
DDF has the perfect map control at this moment, and with his tier 2 army already up, Demon is unable to make any aggressive moves. And you can see that DDF also fortified his base with some sentries so that Demon cannot go for any harass. So pressing on to his advantage, it would be beneficial for DDF to keep on expanding at this point.
DDF forcing Demon to spend a defender drone to get rid of that terror drone that was camping the MCV of Demon. Super frustrating for Demon to have to deal with all of these things. DDF is actually going for a pretty fast 4th refinery. So he kills the oil derrick, he delays the 3rd refinery harvester, he delays the 4th refinery of Demon, and DDF gets his own 4th refinery in the southern position relatively quickly.
Meanwhile, DDF is very relentless with his armor tanks, comboed with bears as well. Right now, the Empire's only chance at beating those armor tanks would be with tank busters, but there's a very good number of bears around. So you would need a good number of Tengus to kill bears, just land on them right away, which Demon does not have.
And again, to harken back to the last game, it feels like the stuff that Demon normally does to other players, the level of control that he has, the amount of abuse that he's able to put onto other players, is feeling like how DDF is playing right now. He is in such good control, even gets the kill on the VX down in the south while harassing the MCV with his hammer tanks in the north. It just feels like it's DDF game from the get-go. From the start, DDF has just been punching in Demon's direction.
DDF is also dropping some sort of support power on Demon's army on the back. We'll take a look. Oh yeah, that's the Roar's down, gets rid of all the infantry, so all hope would be lost for Demon at this point.
Wow.
He's unable to pack his MCV because of the terror drone.
It's like, there's just nothing Demon can do, and this is not what we're used to seeing. He's going to be losing his 3rd refinery on the high ground, or rather his 4th refinery on the high ground. He lost his MCV. He has very little recourse. He absolutely can still fight this one out, but it is going to be the longest, bloodiest uphill battle that we have seen in such a long time. This is total domination and control by DDF in this game. He is going to maybe get the kill on the naval yard.
Looks like a Kula's not being built, so the water raft is going to survive for the time being.
Oh man, this is really tough for DDF or for Demon.
I don't see how he could really hold up.
Fully heroic hammer tank as well for DDF, just kind of adding the advantage there. Barracks does go down, so one thing that Demon could have done is potentially go for a big infantry army, and now that is sort of off the table. There's a couple of Imperial Warriors, a couple of tank busters. DDF is way overspending on defense over at that 4th refinery location compared to what you would normally do. But honestly, he's so far ahead in everything else that like building an extra couple of sentry guns is not that big of a deal. Strikers are committing into the attack on DDF's MCV. Demon might be able to get a kill here. DDF is trying to draw the strikers into the flak cannon, and it may be just enough DPS. Yep, even with the honorable discharge, it's not quite there. Back at the front line of Demon's base, Hammer Tank's going to be trading out against Tsunamis, and we've got Bullfrogs and a Twin Blade here and a Terror Drone. It just gives so many advantages to DDF to be able to engage. I'm so used to Demon being the Soviet player, but in this case, it's DDF, and he is dominating.
DDF is completely unconcerned with all the attacks on his MCV. He does have 4 home mix there, but he was always keeping all of his air units at the front line, making sure Tengus could not transform easily. He's trying to take down Demon's base right away, even at the cost of his MCV being lost. Which he's actually going.
He's got the engineer to save it, so it basically doesn't even matter. And like, Demon's only chance to rebuild some of this stuff is, of course, shutting down his mecha bay for a minute to build that MCV back up. And on top of that, Demon doesn't have $5,000 in the bank, so even if he had the free space to get his MCV back online to rebuild some of these refineries, it's just not gonna happen. DDF climbing to nearly 4K in the bank. DDF isn't even macroing especially well, and he's still just dominating this game because of how much space he created in the beginning.
Yeah, even if Demon manages somehow to miraculously kill off all the Bullfrogs, DDF would still have mix for Yurii and a bunch of team plays to harass very mobilely everywhere. So I really don't see how Demon could still hold this one out. Not sure why he's not forfeiting at this point.
It was a crazy back and forth in game number 1, like all harassment, not really any big fights, but this game number 2 almost couldn't feel more one-sided.
I feel like it's mostly just because of the third refinery in the beginning, which delayed Demon's mecha base so much without knowing that there's gonna be a Terror Drone coming right from the start. So again, Red Alert 3 is such a snowbally game, so you being behind in the beginning is just going to spiral into a rather one-sided game.
Yeah, and I feel like that third refinery opening blind from Demon is a good indicator that DDF is not saying anything in the all chat. So, of course, that's not required. One of the advantages of random is your opponent doesn't know the matchup, so it's nothing against DDF, but that was a phenomenally executed game by DDF, and Demon kind of got Demoned. He just got stomped there in game number 2. Which takes us to Fire Island for game number 3. And this one might be looking a little bit more familiar, but certainly not in the colors, because spawning as the Orange Empire in the north, this is DDF.
And on the bottom left corner, we have the Yellow Empire. This is Demon. And you can already see he was having a major disadvantage from not knowing what his opponent's faction is, as Demon is eager to have to waste the dojo core right in his base to get scouting right away in order to see DDF's faction, whereas on a map like Fire Island, you really want to spam dojos at both Oyos to secure both of them in an EVE mirror. So that you can see DDF is already at quite an edge, has his dojo set up at the front, while Demon's actually going to secure the other east side dojo.
Okay, so this is actually going to kind of work out, even if it's not how Demon would have liked to open if he had perfect information. It's kind of going to work out, and we'll see how this game varies from game number 1, which was also an Empire versus Empire, and also on a similarly popular map, although Infinity Isle is certainly the more popular of the two. Now, one thing that we do have to mention about just the format is because this is the upper bracket finals and we still have the rest of the lower bracket to get to and the grand finals, this is only a best of 5. This is where things could just end. If DDF plays this one out, he goes straight into the grand final. In a very bizarre turn of events, Demon would be forced to fight his way through the lower bracket. It's not likely, but it can happen.
Well, a clean sweep against Demon is so unlikely, but I'm counting on it.
DDF gets the drop on that first Tengu. He transformed a little bit early so that he would catch the damage on that Tengu. That was a delightful little move there and kind of forcing Demon away. Once again, we're seeing, just like the Infinity Isle game, the first player to make a move on the aggressive front is Demon. DDF is happy to play defensively, and, well, for the current moment, DDF is going to be rewarded for that. We'll see how the game progresses, but right now, DDF is doing just fine. He hasn't had any big mishaps, he hasn't had any big mistakes, and he might actually get a free kill on a Tengu. In the west, he gets the kill. One Tengu up for DDF. Oil Derrick being
DDF
harassed.
Is playing very safe for sure.
So kind of the opposite of game number 1, where the Oil Derricks went untouched for so long. This game, Oil Derrick immediately under harassment, so money has to be spent repairing it, and DDF, it looks like, is going to save it.
He will have to save the audio for sure. And again, you see Demon being a lot more aggressive as Empire, constantly splitting Tengus to the side, getting harassments, even on the audio as well. So normally, a more aggressive Empire player is going to have an upper hand, but DDF is actually making a defensive playstyle work out for him. And those tank busters are going to be very efficient in taking down the audio, and by concentrating his army, DDF is able to probably secure a kill on the audio. However, he is going to be unable to defend his own base. Demon is not really seizing the opportunity, though.
I didn't actually see when DDF built those tank busters. The Oil Derrick from DDF is almost dead. Demons has been cleaned up. And once again, a Tengu is going to get trapped. It's a 2 against 1 in the north. So Demon is going to even the score on the oil derricks. And DDF is going to lose both of his tank busters. But Demon has now lost another Tengu as well. His harassment is going considerably worse than it was in Game 1 on Infinity Isle.
Agreed. Picking those smaller Tengu kills here there is just what's going to win you the game with an EVE conventionally. Just
and that's, again... Again, this
Another
is one
Tengu.
of those things where Demon is the player we expect to be doing that. Demon is the player who normally finds those picks.
And you can see DDF being very cautious, almost anticipating Demon to split his Tengus 2 ways to try to get one into DDF space. And he was preemptively splitting off half of his own army as well to defend his own base.
Now, Demon does still have a very good Tengu Cloud, and as we've talked about before, Demon is very good in engagements. We'll see. It's still a lot of Tengus versus a lot of Tengus. It's still Tier 1 mecha bays on both sides. 2 refineries, no oil derricks. Things are so close that they could flip on their head in either direction at any moment.
Absolutely. Demon does have 2 Tengus planted deep at the top, and he would be able to potentially swoop in for some sneaky harassments if any army engagements happened on DDF's end. And it's actually a wise move for DDF to not push in this entire time, because if he did, Demon would have been able to get both of his harvesters.
Demon comes in, double harvester harass. We'll see if he's actually able to do very much. It also feels like it's less time, or a shorter walk rather, from the refinery to the Mecha Bay for repairs. Tier 2 on the Mecha Bay of DDF, and Demon comes in with his full force. He cleans up 1 Tengu. He's got some lost harvester time, but he loses 2 Tengus on the ground. Once again, it feels like DDF is starting to find the defender's advantage. Now, on the other side of the map, Demon has gone Tier 2 on his Mecha Bay as well. His first striker is now out.
Demon is actually moving his MCV to an expansion spot. Going for an expansion right now would of course be very risky, especially while you are trying to stabilize your Tier 2 army, so I'm not expecting any refineries, but looks like Demon's trying to play the long game and just stall this out until he gets another refinery.
And just like in game number 1, it's been very low cash in the bank. So squeezing out an additional refinery at this point, especially as we see this engagement unfolding in the middle of the map. Strikers on the ground for Demon, getting some free damage there. Big transform by Demon, big transform by DDF. Point defense drones comes in at the last possible second there. And DDF is committing deep onto enemy territory, but back on the north side of the map, Demon is going for his own version of harassment. So he's trying to cross map. He's trying to get some damage done on the opposite side of the map, but DDF is now going to evac from Demon's base, flies right over that MCV once again, and back home, DDF, it looks like, cleared up the Tengu harassment. I guess that came out even? I don't even know if anyone got an advantage from that weird set of almost engagements.
Well, Demon certainly had the lower hand, as he did not have point defense drones on all of his Tengus in the beginning, hence lost a lot of Tengus, was forced to land at a position that's safe enough to defend his base, because if he landed outside of his base, he would be unable to deal with any harassments. So in the process, he had to lose a lot of Tengus before being able to apply defense drones.
And I said that, and then I looked at the numbers, and Demon literally has 6 Tengus. I did not realize his numbers were that low. DDF must have, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 Tengus here in the middle. Demon is taking a 3rd refinery. He has found, I guess he kind of figures, I'm behind. My only way to get ahead is to do something risky, and indeed he's going to do it. We'll see if he's able to get away with it, but yeah, DDF has such a big numbers advantage that I did not realize how big it was.
Would be very dangerous. DDF actually lands and pulls right away with Tengus working around on land. So if he does not pressure Demon right now while Demon's low on economy, Demon's possibly going to be able to come back in a big way with that much more economy.
All right.
Well, actually, DDF gets his own refinery as well, so they're now even.
Oh, wow, he's going out onto the water with his refinery. Demon, once again, he's skating very close to danger. We saw in the north, Demon, he plants a Tengu deep on the map. He's now going to be sending it in, going for a bit of harassment. This hasn't worked out on Infinity Isle. It hasn't worked out super well here on Fire Island either, but maybe he will find a bit of damage here late in game number 3.
I don't think Demon's aware that DDF has a third refinery. And usually taking a water refinery is very risky against an Empire player, but usually when you do put the refinery on water, you are counting on having a naval yard around for the repairs. But otherwise, that refinery cannot be walled and can be easily taken out by a tank army. And even tsunami tanks, of course. There's a lot of tsunamis.
And I mean, in this case, DDF actually feels like safe enough that he can also get a barracks. So he's hoping that he can kind of play both ends of this. He's got the Tengu numbers, he's got the tsunami tanks, he's got the third refinery, and also he's going for infantry just to amp up his damage and make it that much harder for him to deal with it.
Demon's actually turtling a bit with some turrets, which is gonna be very not desirable given that DDF is actually at even economic ground. Demon was probably unaware of the third refinery at this point. Otherwise, like, it would be logical to just hold your ground while you have the advantage economically, which Demon does not have.
Demon thought he was going for a bit of a risky move that might put him back in this game and might give him an advantage, but DDF is actually going for a fourth refinery as well. The tsunami tank on the south side might get caught. Demon once again placing a couple of Tengus way up in the north. He's ready to potentially move in for the harassment, but game number 1, Demon did a lot of damage with that Harvester harassment. We have not seen that here in game number 3, so it feels like DDF is playing that very defensive style, but he's getting even more value for it. And Demon sees the fourth refinery come online. He knows the situation that he's in.
It's quite impressive, actually. I think Demon losing the Tengus because he had no point defense zones was really the turning point of the game. It made him unable to go on offense easily.
That was sort of the start of the snowball, and because DDF has been playing so defensively, he's been playing so solidly, he's never really given an opportunity for Demon to come back in this game. Demon is going for that harassment while the tsunami tank attacks at the front. The Tengu slips in, but once again, the macro of DDF means that there's always a unit popping out of that mecha bay. There's always something nearby to harass, so even when the rest of the army is in the middle of the map, DDF still defends back home. Not so with Demon. DDF gets a kill on the Harvester back in the main base of Demon, and again, a Tengu shows up in the main base of DDF, and it does nothing.
Now Demon understands the only chance he has at comeback, which is why he went for a lab. He is in a very desperate situation. A lab is probably not going to work out, but it's the only chance he has at this point, given as long as DDF does not keep producing VXs, which he now has 5 of. So any Keonis or artilleries would easily be taken down by VXs.
And I feel like normally the way that you can crack your opponent when you're a bit ahead but not super far ahead is to go for that artillery. Go for Wave Force or Shogun or whatever to try and break your opponent. But when you're behind and you're going for a big investment into tech, it does feel almost like a fool's errand. We'll see. Maybe Demon will create enough space and he will be able to create an advantage for himself. Striker's coming in here. Striker's going to be jumping on the Strikers of Demon. He's going for the retreat, and he is getting punished for it. DDF gets a couple of kills, but Demon gets a couple of kills as well. Harassment may be coming in as well. No, I don't think Demon was able to execute any harassment while that was happening.
Well, Demon does have a couple of defenders that were able to save his life right there. But DDF has found an opening right into Demon's space and gonna cut his power, and then it's gonna be game over.
Double power plant kill, a third power plant going to go offline. So Demon has spent his cash on these Strikers, and he is going to be getting nothing for them. First Wave Force is out, so if DDF didn't already know, he definitely knows now the exact situation. And the Wave Force immediately gets caught and killed. Demon has been playing from behind. He's tried 2, maybe 3 things to 2 or 3 risky moves to try and get himself back in this game. They have not worked out, and DDF looks perfect.
He's actually gonna get a sweep.
GG!
My word.
Never mind, that's the end of the game. We don't get a big explosive final battle, but DDF peeled off so many units from Demon's force over the course of those 12-13 minutes that Demon had almost no fighting force left. And we saw those two big moves of Demon saying, this is risky, but if it works, I might get back in the game. And then it just didn't work.
And it's as if DDF was reading Demon's mind the entire time. Whatever risky move Demon made, DDF immediately mirrored it, with the third refinery with his own lab each time.
And that will do it for game number 3 for the first series. DDF advances into the grand finals, and Demon will drop down to the lower bracket of For the Win 81. By the way, big thanks to Rage of Heat, aka Inspector Rage, for putting on this event and also donating the $115 prize pool to the event. Let's jump into the lower bracket. Welcome to the lower bracket of For the Win 81. This is a best of 1 to see who moves on and who falls away. On the left side, playing as the Red Empire, this is Czar.
And on the right side, being the Blue Allies, this is Pika.
Pika versus Czar. Czar, a player that I'm not super familiar with, mostly because he plays under the name ASDFGHJK period. So I've seen him a bunch, but I never really connected him with a particular name. So in the last 6 months, Czar has actually gotten quite good at Red Alert 3, both in team games and in 1v1s, but we really haven't seen much. I haven't seen much from him in a tournament setting. Pika, what is? Okay, second refinery comes up for Pika there. I was having a bit of an aneurysm where I thought Pika was late on his second refinery for some reason, but no, it's fine. All right, everything's normal. I was thinking it was some kind of chaos, but nope, everything's fine. So Czar I haven't seen a lot from in a serious competitive fashion, and I'm excited to see how he does against such a solid player that I have a lot of familiar with, Pika.
Right, curiously, Pika is not going for any Vindicators to counter Dojos. Instead, he's actually going for a Seaport right away, going for some Riptides despite not having Javelins. So he's not going to be able to threaten Czar's base right away with Javelin Laser Locks, but those Peacekeepers are going to have an upper edge soon enough.
Huh, okay, so he goes literally one Riptide, and he gets the airfield behind that. So this is a curious move. I don't know that this feels very normal, but Czar goes Mecha Bay on the high ground. He's walling off his potential high ground third location, and the Vindicators are now coming out, so he can actually start doing a bit of cross-map harassment. Javelin Soldier inside of the building to push away that Tengu. And Pika, he's coming down the ramp, but this is an empty Riptide, so this feels super dangerous, but actually, it's not.
Might just be there to draw his opponent's attention.
Yeah,
since
that's what I was thinking. Oh, Vindicator goes down. Vindicator on the return to base gets eliminated. And the Apollo was out chasing a Tengu over the water, so Czar just gets a Vindicator kill. He chases away that Riptide, which was never much of a threat anyways because there were no Javs inside of it. And I guess we're going to progress into a little bit more of a normal 1v1, a little bit more of a normal AVE.
Major setback for Pika for sure, so that's going to enable Czar to safely go for a third refinery without worrying about Cryos anytime soon. Having to invest that much money into the Vindicator is just going to be a major setback.
Yeah, so MCV packs up and heads to the high ground, so even if he had gone for, tier 2, it would have been even a delay, but Pika is in a bit of an awkward spot, but I feel like just do normal allies things, play a little bit defensively and get your feet back under you. Vindicators come in. Vindicators, I don't know what that was. He ended up killing the Striker anyways, but in a weird pattern that lost him a Vindicator. So trades a Vindicator for a Tengu and a Striker, but Dojo in the back of the base? Surely nothing will come of this. Okay, it's just going to be an Imperial
building
Warrior.
tank busters is just going to be a waste of money at this point.
Yeah. He does get one Imperial Warrior. And trying to be a bit annoying. Czar hoping that he can just cause Pika some annoyance, some distress. gets a Yurii mini-sub as well. So this refinery out on the water of Pika is going to be potentially under threat. That Yurii mini-sub can also potentially pick off that power plant. We'll see what Pika is able to do. But for the current moment, Zar is feeling pretty solid.
Pika does have a 4th refinery on the high ground, so taking out the water ref is just going to even the economic grounds.
Killing the power plant will be an annoying thing that Pika has to deal with. Yurii mini-sub is going to force the deploy into a command hub. Vindicator's coming in to clean up the Yurii, and the Yurii is going to split away. Doesn't escape, though, so he does not submerge fast enough, and so those Vindicators get a kill. One Apollo did get sniped, and that is one thing that Pika has not been very safe with his air units. He has lost several air units over the course of this game, somewhat sloppily. He has found some angles that looked like maybe they would work, but then Zar is the one who ends up getting the kill. And so where we see when Pika is on point, or with other really good allied players like Happy, they just never let those aircraft die. And in this moment, in this game, Pika is making some mistakes and Zar is getting some kills.
Right, Pika is not looking to be committing heavily into aircraft any further, as Zar does have a good number of VXs, so now Pika has kind of been forced into kind of a defensive stance where he has to build FVs to prevent any VXs from going in just in conjunction with Tengus to cause major damage. But looks like the water rifle of Pika's is going to fall for sure.
Double harassment from those Yurii mini-subs, and Pika has been sharking around the map with his Apollos, looking for kills on those Tengus. Oh, Yari's draw the Vindicators in, and the timing was perfect that time. The Vindicators do go for the kill on the Yuris, but they end up having to just turn away. It's going to be the Riptides that deal with the Yuris out there at the water expansion, and for the current moment, Pika has saved that refinery. Yurii is going to trade out against this Riptide. I assumed he would go for the suicide, and he will indeed. Barely gets it there. Pika reestablishing his front line, reestablishing his foothold in this game. Does a bit of damage to that Harvester, and his IFVs, his Tier 2 War Factory on the high ground, is going to be his anchor for the next couple of minutes.
Pika actually has gotten Tier 2 up quite a few minutes ago, but he has never gotten any Tier 2 units, curiously.
I was kind of expecting to see at least one cryocopter out at this point, but he just hasn't had the cash flow to be able to...
Oh, he's Tier 3 now. He's rushing for Tier 3.
Oh, wow. He goes all the way to Tier 3. So I guess Athena cannons are in his future. We'll see if he gets any Mirages as well, but no cryocopters just yet. Zar is going for his own 4th refinery. He has been unable to dislodge the water 4th refinery of Pika, and Pika just keeps defending it with Riptides. Zar keeps throwing Yurii mini-subs at it, and he keeps killing Harvesters, but Zar is kind of losing that edge that he had early on. Mirage tanks are starting to come out. Pika is going to have the tools to force an engagement, but the water refinery does fall.
Pika has held on to the water refinery for long enough. He's bought himself just enough time. Without Zar being aggressive enough with the Tengu harassments and everything, Pika has gotten away with not building any Tier 2 units at all and going straight into Tier 3, and now Pika's probably going to seal the deal with the Athena, protected by a Mirage.
One Mirage, one Athena. That MCV is under threat right at the edge of range there. He's going to have to pack a little bit further away from his walls that he's set up to be safe from the Athena. A little bit of a delay there to anything that Zar was planning. It's never fun to have to run your MCV away from the front line like that. Zar picks everything up into the sky. He's looking for a potential angle. He might find a flank, but Apollos are here from Pika. There's way too many Tengus, but there's IFVs on top of this. The Athena is kind of in an awkward spot, but there's multiple Mirages here and there outside of the Aegis shield. So those strikers find their kills, find their damage, and Zar wins the engagement. He crushes absolutely everything from Pika there. He probably had another 30-second window or something before it was going to be really a problem, but he found the perfect angle of engagement. He found the perfect time to commit into that attack, and Zar crushes through Pika's army, but Pika is not done yet.
A major loss for Pika for sure, but Zar actually forgot to deploy his 4th refinery this entire time and is only now sending the core over. But that's actually going to enable the core to just miss those riptides that could have killed it.
That almost turned out really bad for Zar, and it kind of, yeah, like you said, got lucky, or it just worked out well enough that the Riptides only killed a Harvester. They come in with the Cryo shot, they get a kill, and they escape down to the south. Strikers transform, put a couple of missiles into that Apollo, and right now Zar is just trying to rebuild that front line. These Mirages, the IFVs, still putting a threat on Zar at the front lines.
It just looks like Pika does not have enough anti-air power, not enough FVs, not enough Apollos to deal with any mass tank reactions followed by VX. So any tier 3 is really going to be invalidated just because of that.
Yeah, if Pika could get a bit of space. He's got the Athena back online, so he's maybe going to force this MCV back and then try and just poke and prod at the army. Zar hasn't totally rebuilt his army, so maybe there's an angle where this works a bit better. But for the current moment, Pika's just going to try and repeat what he did a couple of minutes ago and hope for a better result. Athena Cannon pushes extremely far forward. Strikers are on the south side of the island. Zar is once again looking for that magical angle of engagement. It's going to be IFVs and Apollos on the south side of the ridge. Athena Cannon is way on the north side and safe for now. One Tengu goes down, Scratch, anything else, and they're both going to disengage.
Athena Cannon finally getting into range to attack the MCV.
I thought the MCV was safe far enough away there, but no, the Athena Cannon can still reach it. Gives it a little laser tickle. One Apollo commits into an attack for some reason and just gives its life. But this is now 4 Mirage tanks on the front line. Honorable Discharge is still an extremely powerful weapon, and we've seen Tier 3 allied armies get obliterated by low-cost Empire units making use of that Honorable Discharge. Another Apollo gets brought into the world, but the IFVs are going to save this low-ground allied base and force these Empire units away. Zar is getting dangerously close to losing these units, but oh my gosh, everything survives. The Strikers skirt death, but escape.
Absolutely fantastic. Preserving those Tengus is going to be essential for Zar in order to hold back mass numbers of Athenas and of those IFVs as well.
And that brought the entire army of Pika from the high ground where it was attacking down to the low ground. Apollo's
looks like the VXs can't.
Ooh.
They're not gonna manage to save the refinery.
That was so close, but the freeze does get the kill on the refinery, and that was a heroic Riptide as well. Refinery does get rebuilt immediately. By the way, Zar and Pika, both of them staying under 1K in cash. Zar floating a little bit here, but he just lost his dojo, so we can forgive him for that. Still no cryocopters. This feels like a bit of a mistake from Pika, not playing with all of the units that he has.
Agreed, but right now Zar really is pressured enough to not be able to afford the time or to spend the money to build a lab. So without any tier 3 units to contend with allies, he will have to stay on tier 1, build a lot of Tengus to try to hold allies back. So cryos are not really gonna serve a whole lot of purpose with this many Tengus around.
Oh, Tengu's going over the main base of Pika. Just drops 1 for a bit of harassment. Shouldn't be too big of a problem, but maybe I spoke a little bit too soon. IFVs get jumped on. Strikers transform as well. This is kind of an all-out assault, but it might be an all-out trap for the Empire player. He's going to retreat away to the edge. Pika never rebuilt that water expansion, so these units kind of have a lot of space to just escape over the water.
The FVs unfortunately got stuck back there with the pathfinding conflicting against the Harvesters, so they were not able to jump onto the VXs and potentially get 1 or 2 kills, which is unfortunate, but Pika does get a Harvester kill with Vindicators, though he sacrifices one of them.
And also, that was an extra Harvester. That was a Harvester left over that was saved from the refinery, so he just traded a Vindicator to get a Harvester that wasn't even doing anything. Which I guess is
not worth it.
It's a Harvester that doesn't have to be, like, you're denying the rebuild later, but that feels like a super weird trade. A little bit of harassment coming in here. Zar actually finds a power plant in the back line, and actually he's got a fully heroic VX as well, denying a little bit of mining time to Pika, and Pika is trying to chase away this ever-escaping Tengu VX army as the Chronosphere comes online, but it's low power mode for Pika.
Pika kind of figured out that he cannot really safely go on offense at any points given the number of Tengu Zars carefully maintaining, so he is planning on playing the long game, getting the super weapons up. Meanwhile, at the side of the super weapon, Zar has actually immediately gone for a lab to go for his own tier 3.
Ooh, that is a fully heroic Striker VX. It just got kissed by those Apollos, but all 3 Strikers still do survive. Zar has been preserving his units so well, I say that, as this Apollo now closes in on some very low health Strikers, and one of them goes down, so never mind. He was doing a phenomenal job preserving his units, and over the course of this game, he has done a very good job of preserving his units.
Zar might not want to push in right now. He lost a couple infantries there, because right now he really just needs to buy enough time to get tier 3.
Ooh, a lovely catch here for Pika. He's going to get a heroic Striker, and he's going to get the other Striker as well. Tengus are going to go in for the big harass on the ridge. Get a Harvester? Is that going to be it? I guess they're going to have to just escape on out of here. 2 minutes on the clock on that Chronosphere. A little bit of time before Pika can use it. There's the Transform. A multi-gunner turret gets deployed. IFVs are going to get lots of damage, but only 1, maybe 2 Tengus will go down on the exit. Zar, not quite falling apart, but losing that Mecha Bay on the high ground is killer. That Cryo-Geddon seals the deal and eliminates the Mecha Bay this late in the game.
Especially since he was very close to getting tier 3 up. Fortunately, he hasn't sold off his lab, so now he's probably going to aim for tier 3 on docks in order to not waste the amount of time that he spends on the Mecha Bay, and that's definitely going to give Pika enough time to fire at least 1 Chronosphere.
We'll see what Pika is able to do with it. The Riptide over at the water expansion of Zar goes down. The Ore Collector and the Riptide were both very low on health, and Zar switches the Ore Collector over to gun mode at the last second to get the kill on the Riptide. Ultimately inconsequential, but totally delightful to see, and that's why I spent so much time talking about it and calling attention to it, because it was a delight to see.
It's a miracle that the water rifle of Zars has survived this long with Riptides all over the place.
The harassment has been sort of on and off for both players. They kind of go through a bit of a patch where they harass a bunch, and then they lighten off of the harassment, and then they start harassing again. But yeah, Zar has managed to keep all of his refineries online. I mean, he has had to rebuild a number of harvesters and a refinery, but he's managed to mostly keep them online. And you called it, Tier 3 is now online on that naval yard. No Mecha Bay rebuild just yet. No, okay, it's on the low ground, never mind.
Yeah, looks like Zar's also trying to take up his dojo as well, even though it's being bombed, so it might be too risky to take it up now. So he has an engineer to potentially repair it. Maybe going to go for some Yurikos, which would be fun to see with a massive army engagement as well.
So you pointed out, by the way, Chronosphere online, Chronosphere is ready to go, rather. You pointed out that the beginning of the game, that Pika kind of opened up in a weird way, and it feels like the dominoes have been falling ever since, and Pika has almost gotten his feet back under him, but not quite. And this game has just been a weird cascade of awkward engagements after awkward engagements. 2 Riptides go down in the south, by the way. Chronosphere could eliminate this Shogun very easily. The Shogun is starting to assault. He might be waiting to try and trap 2 Shoguns. This game has been very odd back and forth, but maybe that's just how this game is going to be.
It appears that Pika is trying to lure the Shoguns to be closer together by intentionally exposing his army into their firing range, but so far he hasn't been able to do so.
Yeah, and it feels like Zar is being very intentional at keeping these Shoguns at a distance from each other. He now has 3 Shoguns out on the map. First Cryocopter is now here, and Pika... Okay, that's going to be it. That's the moment he gets 2 Shoguns, 1 shrunk down, 1 full-sized, but it doesn't stop the 3rd Shogun. Pika still has to answer this call. The Shogun is here, and a 4th will almost certainly be on the way. Zar is scraping the bottom of the barrel, it seems, or maybe he just never built a fourth Shogun and he's only just started it recently.
Yeah, in the long run, Pika's not going to be able to hold out for much longer. Just by delaying the Chronosphere there and also delaying cryocopters, he has lost another refinery, so right now, Zar does have twice of Pika's economy.
Well, I mean, Zar lost his oil derrick a long time ago, and Pika still has his oil derrick, so... Are you taking that into account in your calculations? But no, you're right. The economy has been a bit of a mismatch for a while. You did mention Pika got his like tier 3 just at the right time, where he lost his fourth refinery out on the water just around the time that he got his tier 3. And so he was actually fine for most of the game. But things have kind of shifted again. The balance has shifted, and now he's lost 2 refineries in the space of a minute or two. There's a Shogun in the north, there's a Shogun in the south, and they are both an active threat to Pika's base.
Appears that Pika's going to try to transition into naval, as he has set up another water refinery as well as a naval yard. Some dolphins could be very deadly towards those Shoguns.
Oh my gosh, Tankbuster Surprise on the high ground almost does something significant, but ultimately Pika is kind of just floundering here. If Zar completely messes this up, loses both of these Shoguns without accomplishing much more, the result will sort of be that they're on equal footing. Zar will have killed off some refineries. Pika will have rebuilt some refineries. Shogun getting extremely low on health. That Shogun 1 or 2 HP away from giving this Athena Cannon a heroic status. And Pika has started to carve away at these Shoguns, but still there's 3 or 4 of them on the map.
Wow, just dominating everywhere, on the seas, in the air.
GG gets called, and Pika takes the L here in this game. After 20 minutes floundering and then trying to correct himself and looking like he was in a good position, Zar comes through with the win. And that sends us into the next lower bracket match. One of these players is the same. One of these players is new, and the new guy is in the north. He's playing blue. He's playing allies. This is Dutch Army.
And on the south, we have our winner of the previous match. It is the Red Empire, Zar.
So now we don't get to see what a best of 3 between Pika and Zar would look like, but we do get to see if Zar can repeat his performance in another best of 1. Dutch Army comes crashing down from the upper bracket and is fighting his way here in the lower bracket. Upper bracket finals, we've already seen that conclusion. DDF and Demon going at each other. And that means whoever wins this game, well, it's not over because they have to face Demon in a best of 3 for the lower bracket finals. So this best of 1 leads directly into a best of 3 against Demon. And that is definitely where the rubber meets the road. Dutch Army, we've seen him take Demon in a best of 7 and come out with a very close score. So Dutch Army, we definitely know he can take Demon in a best of 3. Zar, I don't think I've ever seen Zar versus Demon. So we will definitely get a different kind of a match, but either way this goes, it's either going to be a rematch, Dutch Army versus Demon, which is a matchup that I love watching, or it's going to be a newcomer, Zar, or a player I'm less familiar with, Zar, against Demon for the first time in my eyes. I'm excited either way, but it's a tough road ahead of either one of these guys.
For sure, Zar has so far secured very good map awareness all across. He has a very good number of warriors garrisoning every building around every single corner, while Dutch has actually kind of wasted the early game just by getting javelins into Riptides to go for some crazier harassment right away, but Zar is prepared for that. He has all the garrisons pinned down by warriors. There's not going to be any safe ground for javelins to jump into.
We'll see if he's able to break through these walls. Dutch Army is going to have some walls to contend with. He is going to get a laser lock on the power plant, but again, the walls are going to come in to save it. Riptide almost, no, he doesn't save the power plant, so that's one bit of a victory for Dutch Army, but how much is he giving up in terms of map presence and the fact that this is already a tier 2 mecha bay that he's going up against?
usually very risky to take up your Mecha Bay against a Riptide Javelin combo, but because this is a very big map and all the Riptides have to travel that far over here, and because of Zar's perfect walling, he has been able to secure his Mecha Bay and now has a major advantage just having those Tsunami tanks.
Vindicator comes in, drops a couple of bombs. Tsunami tanks get a couple of more crushes. One jab, one PK. And going to back off for now. Dutch Army looking to potentially take a third refinery. For the current moment, he's happy to just drop the multi-gunner turret, and I assume he's going to clear out the walls. He is indeed doing that now. And Zar, I mean, he's looking poised to take the third on the high ground, but he's got that tier 2 Mecha Bay, so this is going to be an extremely expensive area of the map if he fails to defend it. Wait, where's that MCV going? Okay, unpacks. He's not going crazy. Airfield is up for Dutch Army, and walls are cleared out. He's now got his third refinery online on the high ground.
VX is going in though, and they are going to be able to deal really well against Vindicators. If Vindicators try to escape, they could just transform, but of course Javelins are holding them back, which is the saving grace for Dutch.
Zar dumps a bunch of rockets into the oil derrick, doesn't quite clean it up right now. And Zar, I think, is also trying to get out his own third refinery, but he's been scraping the bottom of the barrel. He's been zeroing out his bank account for a little while. Vindicator gets grabbed in the middle of the map or close to it. Tier 2 is up and running, but Dutch Army loses that Vindicator and currently gets nothing for it. All right, third refinery coming up for Zar.
Yeah, quite delayed. That could be a point for Dutch. Though Dutch could actually want to get more Apollos, though he does rebuild the Vindicator, but more Apollos could actually escort Crowcopter really well against Tengus.
Right, the old 3 Apollo, 1 Vindicator build. But yeah, he's going at least 2 Vindicators. Dutch Army now completely drained his own bank account. He goes tier 2, he's got the airfield, he's got some other base defenses, and he has just completely zeroed out his bank account. All right, oil derrick finally goes down. At the same time, Tengu going for a bit of harass, going to do a bit of damage to that prospector, but ultimately get cleaned up. Tengu's coming in here. They're able to secure some damage on that strike, or on that cryocopter, but the strikers get the Apollo, and the Tengus get cleaned up by the rest of the allied forces. It's going to be a cut and run, but not without some losses. A striker dies on exit, and the Tsunami tank comes down to the low ground to try and face off against these Riptides and save his striker buddies. Vindicator's coming in for another pass. They're going to be able to get another striker on exit. Don't even die. Are you kidding me? So close to death, that Vindicator, but it survives.
It does look like Zar actually went for the advanced rocket pods upgrade instead of the honorable discharge, so that enables him to kill a Vindicator with 2 VXs, but he barely missed that opportunity.
Right on the edge of death, and that has got to be so frustrating for Zar. You pointed out Zar's map control. He's still got eyes in the base or on the high ground third of Dutch Army, but he's also held the middle of this map, and that's now being a bit annoying for Dutch Army. Dutch Army is having to use multi-gunner turrets to clear out that middle, and it's slowing anything that Dutch Army wanted to do in the middle of the map. Tengu on the north side.
It would be very dangerous if Dutch did manage to MCV push the high ground refinery, but again, with those buildings in the center garrison, he's not able to safely do so.
All right, Dutch Army goes in for the bombing run on the instant dojo, but he misses it. He just barely doesn't have enough rockets or bombs, and he ends up losing a Vindicator on exit. So that was 3 Vindicators that go in, and 1 dies, and the barracks survives. A bit unfortunate for Dutch Army. Zar going in for the harassment as well on the very northern expansion, and he is going to lose the Tengu, but at least denied the mining time, I guess. Not much more you can get for Zar against that kind of ally setup.
Actually a lot of tank busters in the garrison. Now this garrison is going to be very costly to clean up.
No toxin drops for this boy. Cryocopter actually goes down. Apollo goes down as well. Czar, he will not stop killing these allied air units. Last game against Pika, finding those last hits, and now against Dutch Army, getting those little bits of damage right on the edge. But Cryo Shot coming down in the south. At the same time, this Harvester is getting harassed by a Riptide Javelin combo. One jab does go down, and the other Harvester dodges the Cryo Shot and avoids the instant death.
Rather ambitious as well, since Dutch is trying to take down 2 refineries simultaneously, but he has failed to do so and will now lose the Javelin.
Ooh. Yeah, loses the Riptide, loses the Javelin. That was a aggressive push from Dutch Army. He was pressuring in the middle of the map. He was trying to cause some confusion, and it kind of ended up not quite working out as he had hoped. At the same time, Czar now going to be striking into the back of Dutch Army. Finds the kill on the Apollo, finds the kill on the power plant, finds the kill on the Harvester as well, and he's going to try and escape. He's got one Stompy Boy just awkwardly trapped on the ramp against these IFVs. Unfortunately, this striker will go down one way or the other. Tengu's coming in. One Tengu gets blown up hard. Second goes in for the harass. The Harvester will be able to escape. Another Tengu dies on exit. And Dutch Army finally getting some wins, getting some kills against this Tier 2 Tengu VX army.
More Tengus also got lost on their way back because there were a lot of multi-gunner turrets in the center.
It feels like Dutch Army and Pika, this game and last game, had kind of awkward starts, not quite optimal, not quite what we expect to see. And then Czar has been able to take advantage of that and create opportunities for himself to harass and to get some damage done. But one Vindicator goes down on the exit again. These Vindicators just can't escape. Normally, we see Dutch Army and Pika be so much more efficient with their air units, but against Czar, it's for whatever reason not working.
Yeah, the thing is, a capable enough opponent is actually able to melt your will to micro. Just by being annoying enough, harassing you everywhere, they can wear you down and make your micro just slightly off. You kind of feel that whenever you're playing against a very competent opponent.
All right, 3 Vindicators going to be coming in. Tengus are currently getting healed back at the Mega Bay, so that was a free bombing run. A couple of Tank Busters, I think, going down. Barracks does get broken down. Finally, Dutch Army is able to take that down. And this has just been a very protracted 3 refinery kind of game. Both of these guys have been sitting on 3 refineries, but Czar now taking a 4th down at the water, very in the south at the 6 o'clock position. He's got that 4th refinery coming online.
It is curious that Dutch has not been expanding onto the water, but neither is he trying to get tier 3. His MCV is just sitting there idly.
Yeah, he is low on cash. Perhaps these harassments have been sort of taking him down. Oh, Cryo Shot fires off in the middle of the map, but it's completely dodged. That is a complete miss on that Cryo Shot. There's a Tsunami Tank trying to sneak up the ramp of Dutch Army's base. At the same time, a Riptide is going to be harassing in the south, but the Riptide will get caught and killed. The Harvester does survive, and this Tsunami Tank is going to be forcing Dutch Army to pull a couple of Vindicators back from the middle of the map to go for the kill. And there's going to be the activation of the nanodeflectors to save that Tsunami Tank, at least for now. No Cryocopter to come in for the shrink, nothing like that. And the Tsunami Tank is going to take a bit of damage. And the Peacekeeper is, I guess, going to try and go for that kill.
He's going to get it.
There we go. That took a lot of attention from Dutch Army, but he did eventually get the kill, but trades another Vindicator. Czar comes in with the Tengus, the perfect angle to get the kill. And now he's just going to get the Harvester anyway. A double harass here in the main base of Dutch Army. He pulls his entire army back. He gets the kill on one of the Tengus, but he loses the Harvester at the same time. His economy, which was already not in great shape, now takes another hit. Czar floating $3,000 in the bank. Dutch Army down in double digits.
Czar is performing surprisingly well against players we know to be very competent, so I guess he has been a hidden gem this entire time.
Ooh, 3 Tengus go down. Dutch Army has found a couple of these moments here and there, but at the same time, the front is being broken open. Czar says your entire army is back defending your main base. That means your front door is undefended. Knock, knock. It's 4 tsunami tanks. It's a bunch of Imperials and tank busters. Every single multi-gunner turret goes down, and that defensive hold that Dutch Army has had for so long gets busted wide open.
Absolutely felt like Dutch should have taken the Spirits of Demon to make some very daring risks, such as taking up to tier 3 or taking extra refineries, even if it was not right for the situation, because the entire match has just been deteriorating for him the entire time, and he needed a daring move. But at this point, it might be way too late for that.
Dutch Army loses the Mecha Bay loses the War Factory. One of these words is the correct one. It kills the Harvester, or loses the Harvester in the north as well. So again, his War Factory goes down and his economy gets hampered. He does kill a Tengu on exit, but that is a small victory for Dutch Army in the face of how well Czar is playing out this EVA.
And again, Dutch, despite having been rebuilding his harvesters, we need to remember that he is down by 1 refinery as well as an oil derrick. Even if all of his refineries were kept perfectly online, the longer this match goes on, the less it will favor him.
Czar going for that mix of Mecha Bay and Barracks units, but Cryogeddon is the great equalizer. He's going to get mostly infantry, gets 3, 4 tsunami tanks as well. Dutch is not committing into this attack. He is not going to necessarily break all of these bonds. We'll see. Vindicators come in. Vindicators get slashed. Most of these units have been broken down. A spy gets a tsunami tank as well. And this has maybe turned around, but no, it's still not enough. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Czar presses forward even with the Cryogeddon, nabbing so much of that army. Czar crushes forward, and Dutch Army has been full-on retreat.
Dutch made all of the right tactical choices, and it turned out as well for him as it could have, but Dutch just has such a massive army that it's simply impossible to win the engagement.
I mean, Dutch had a spy, he had the Cryogeddon, he had the Vindicators, and Czar positioned his army quite perfectly, even with that Cryogeddon raining down upon him to pull that out. Dutch Army now in full retreat, a heroic Chopper VX gunning down these Vindicators as they try and get off last-ditch bombs. Maybe a set of amazing MCV crushes will bring Dutch Army back into this. He is fighting it out until the bitter, bitter end, but this is a surround by everything that Czar has, and the GG has to follow as Dutch Army's base gets blasted to pieces.
Fantastic army control on Czar's part. Those massive unit types were very difficult to manage, but Czar has put it off very, very precisely and was able to come on top at every round.
Dutch Army trying to clean things up in that last final engagement. He made some mistakes from earlier in the game that compounded and compounded for an advantage for Czar. And then that Cryogeddon comes down, and it's like, okay, is this where Dutch takes it all back? But no. It was not enough. Dutch did not find the right way for that engagement to work out. Or maybe it was just never going to work. But Czar takes down another talented allied player.
Precisely. Dutch never made any big mistakes throughout the game, but he had thrown away numerous aircrafts all over the place. There were never major losses, but just those smaller losses just accumulated together to get Czar to come onto the top.
And that takes us into the lower bracket finals of For the Win 81. And that takes us to the lower bracket finals, kicking off on Battle Base Beta. We finally get to see this Red Empire player in a series longer than a best of 1. Can he go the distance? Because in the north, as the Red, this is Czar.
And on the south, we have the Yellow Soviets, Demon, playing his main faction once again. Everybody's probably excited about it. And Demon is in the losers brackets. He needs to win this one in order to get back up.
But of course, Demon has already faced DDF, and in that case, it was a pretty strong victory for DDF. So if he gets the rebound, if he gets sent back up to the grand finals, he's also going to have to be thinking in the back of his mind what he can do differently to make the grand finals go dramatically differently than the winners bracket finals went. Zar opening up with a good number of dojos, one of them getting busted in the middle of the map. And after seeing some EVE, seeing some EVA, I'm glad to see an intentional EVS with Demon playing Soviets.
And whenever Demon has the choice, he would usually prefer going Soviets against Empire. Perhaps he's just not personally comfortable with EVE mirrors, etc. So right now we are going to potentially expect to see some different performance from Demon.
So Oil Derrick, a little bit of a late capture here by Zar, but he is going to get it regardless. Dojo's getting gunned down. We saw Demon committing to a double barracks conscript spam into the middle of the map to secure all of those. And Demon also goes for the sentry gun right in between his two main base refineries. So he is definitely predicting that there is going to be a lot of Tengu harass. And hey, it's an Empire player, so what else would you expect other than Tengu harass?
Right, and Demon has secured most of the choke points on the map, so now that he has control over the map, he's not really in a hurry with getting out War Factory at all. Instead, he's just turtling up and expanding immediately. A very daring move, not having any units against Empire, but this could potentially work out really well for him.
To your point, I mean, in the last game, we saw Zar with a similar kind of an opening, spreading units to every corner of the map, keeping all eyes on the whole map all at once. And Demon is doing that exact same thing. He's got a bear at the water. He's got the high ground building. He has got eyes everywhere on this map, so much so that he goes for a third refinery before his war factory, and he is totally comfortable to do that. And we'll see if he's able to get away with it, but he's feeling totally comfortable enough to do it.
And indeed, Demon was taking a risk, but it was a very calculated risk. Zar was no doubt aware that he was really unable to break into Demon's main base with the sentry gun there. So instead of spamming any more Tengus, Zar is actually going to tech up to tier 2 with a Mecha Bay and get his own third refinery as well to match Demon's income rates. But right now, without enough Tengus, the refinery is actually going to be delayed by the bear camping at the water.
A bit unfortunate there for Zar, and Demon is going to have perfect knowledge of that. Zar now turning his Tengu around that was basically in the middle of the map so that he can... Well, no, actually, he's going to clear out the bear with something else. I'm not sure what this Tengu is doing, but for the current moment, Zar is getting super duper delayed on that third refinery. He's literally just pulling the third refinery back to the high ground. I don't know where Zar is hoping to send this third refinery, but for the current moment, it is whatever plan he had plus 1 minute. He is just super delayed.
Possibly afraid that the Terratron was heading his way, which he was not aware of. There wasn't one.
Right. But Tengu will now finally clear out that bear. Demon has got his own super reactor up and running. We saw him start and then cancel an airfield. So he was thinking about the airfield. He ended up delaying it, at least for now, and he's instead going to be moving his MCV into the middle of the map. A very aggressive MCV placement by Demon.
Demon is possibly looking to want to take the refinery on Zar's side, which would be a very daring move, but of course he is quite ahead so far by delaying Zar's third refinery.
He is going all the way. I thought he was going to camp out somewhere else, but yeah, he is going for the just in-your-face kind of a move where he says, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care who you beat on your way to face me. I'm Demon, and you will not pass any further. We'll see. If he gets this refinery, that would be a pretty humiliating move. Couple of Tengus going to be pushing into these hammer tanks. One hammer tank does go down because of the tank busters. That's nice for Zar to get any kind of kills and not just fall apart completely. But hammer tanks now going to be turning their guns on these Tengus. Another hammer tank does fall, but another Tengu gets eliminated, and Demon is here. He is going for the humiliation, and he is taking the high ground refinery of Zar.
And even with Demon kind of almost going for extremely reckless moves, almost taunting his opponents, Demon is still dominating on the land with his army, and it was kind of impressive that Zar was able to fend off Demon for the moment being, but looks like Demon is potentially going to end the game right here without even being able to set up a forward base.
GG! That was, I would say short and sweet, but that was short and brutal. That is what we expect to see from Demon. Total annihilation, take no prisoners, and after some very long and back and forth matches, we just have a very short, very dominant performance from Demon.
For sure, and that is Demon with this main faction. We can witness his full power now, and I think it would be a really good idea if Demon switched over to Soviets for the finals. Presumably, he's going to get the chance to do so.
Well, let's see how game number 2 goes. We can never avoid it, try as we might, but we're back here on Infinity Isle to see if this is where he breaks the back, because on the left side, as the Yellow Soviets, the commander of Red Alert 3 for the last 2+ years, this is Demon.
And on the right side, the Red Empire Zar, who has been brutally beaten in the past game, but he has performed extremely well against all other contestants in this tournament so far.
Zar was looking great versus Pika, looking great versus Dutch Army, not only taking down competent, high-level players, but doing it very well, and like with just good, solid play, not getting like weird, gimmicky wins where you're like, I don't even know what that build was. But then it was a complete flip-flop. Game number 1 versus Demon is a return to form. Demon just crushing through. And Zar, I mean, people love to see it. It's the battle bunker in the middle of the map that he is going to have to contest with. People in the comments always say, why don't people build battle bunkers? And here Demon is to save you from it, but Zar is going to be the one who has to bust it.
Fortunately, Zar has not invested much money into infantry, so just having a bunker as a blockade is not really going to set him back too much.
We'll see what Zar is able to do. We get the Mecha Bay out. It's kind of in it's a close to the ramp position, but Zar once again gets a reasonable scout off between his infantry and his burst drones. He gets a reasonable idea of what's going on the map. Tengu now going to be coming in. He sees the War Factory. He sees the Super Reactor. He has an idea of what Demon has done. A little bit of harassment going to be coming in. Tengu goes down, burst drone gets eliminated, and Zar is going to have to commit a second Tengu into this attack. This is a best of 3, so Demon is on the verge of killing Zar and knocking him out of this tournament. Harassment just coming in absolutely everywhere.
And very interestingly, Demon actually got a pretty early War Factory but never built anything out of it. So he was simply trying to play defensive, play solid until he gets armor shots. Like in the previous game where he was turtling up in order to rush for the economy, this game he turtled up in order to rush for tech.
Interesting. We'll see how that works out. Terror Drone does come out from Demon. We saw the Imperial Warrior snipe the Terror Drone on the other side of the map, but Demon is not one to let off the gas when it comes to harassment. We saw that in his series versus DDF, and I expect that Terror Drones and maybe even Sickles, but Terror Drones for sure, are going to be making their way all over this map to harass Zar.
Demon does have very good visions with all the bears around the map. He knows exactly everything that's going on. While Zar is able to get a refinery on the top, which is of course the safer move with all the Terror Drones around.
Zar is actually 2 for 2 in sniping these Terror Drones before they can really do anything. He's landed, with Imperial Warriors, he's landed hits on the Terror Drones and cleaned them up. So Demon, you know, normally he's able to get more done with those Terror Drones, but in this case, you know, he just got up his 3rd refinery. He's feeling good in that sense, but he has not done anything on the other side of the map to actually harass Zar.
Absolutely. In addition, Zar has also taken his time to land Tengus to kill off all of the bears that I was mentioning before, so now Demon's vision of the map has shrunken significantly. Normally with less skilled players, you don't see them taking the time to clear your enemy's visions, but that is just so crucial when you need to sneak Tengus around.
All right, Tengu on the high ground. It's in the ridge. He's going for the harass. Terror Drone does get the infect there, but at the same time, Zar is harassing in multiple spots. He's trying to stretch Demon out. I don't know that this is really going to work out well for Zar. Zar forced to kill off his own Tengu to get the kill on the Terror Drone as well. And I guess that's the best you can ask for from that situation. MCV packing up to chase down that Tengu, but I think Zar will be able to transform and escape from this point.
Now Demon has held on for long enough to accumulate a very good number of hammers. The situation is about to go critical, so Zar at this point has started building some tank busters, but he actually daringly went for a 4th refinery instead of dumping all his money into tank busters. So if Demon pushes in right now, it could be a rather easy victory.
All right, Zar has 2 wall segments set up in the middle. He is adding on more walls. This has worked for some Empire players in the past. Of course, Eminence's famous wall swag build, but this is not the wall swag build. This is a very late wall swag coming up in the middle of the map. This is almost reminiscent of what Zugspitze did last year and into the beginning of this year, playing very heavily around using walls as force fields to split up his opponent's armies. But this is a much more defensive move by Zar. He's coupling it with a bit of Tengu harass here and there. Every single refinery is getting hit, but Demon has defenses everywhere. At the same time, he's getting an airfield on top of that.
And the Tengus were simply sacrificed. All 3 Tengus went down without killing any harvesters. It's like an intentionally hopeless harassment that Zar just intended on pulling off, and that's gonna be not ideal considering that Demon is about to get Twin Blades.
The bear just gets sent over the wall and sniped by Zar immediately. But I would say, yes, my only thought is if Zar is intending for those Tengus to just buy time, then that's exactly what they did do. They bought time. We'll see if that actually was the right move by Zar. Another Terror Drone goes down. Demon literally cannot get a single thing done with Terror Drones in this game versus Zar. He's found every single one of them and eliminated them. But here are the Twin Blades. XYHC was referencing this before. The Twin Frog combo is extremely powerful, and we'll see if Demon is able to do that. First Twin Blade gets pushed back, but I don't know. This is just kind of shaping up into 2 sides of the map, but Zar has more refineries.
It does appear that Demon wants to end the game relatively quickly, as he already grinded up one of his hammer tanks. He's trying to get enough mix to contend with a lower number of Tengus in order to take over with Twin Blades. Because with the wall in the middle, Bullfrogs are gonna have a very hard time getting around to the other side.
Oh! Strikers get the transform in the perfect position, and the Tengus kill off 1 Twin Blade before going for the transform. The second Twin Blade is going to try and come in for the harass, but these low ground strikers are where the Twin Blades are going to jump back to. I don't know that I've actually seen a player deploy on the ledge like that. That's a hilarious location. I think it was a bit unintentional, but it worked out in this case.
Most certainly.
That was a delightful little move there by Zar. Naval Yard does get spotted immediately. Demon does realize that, hey, there's an opportunity for this Naval Yard to do something, and Zar tries to shut it down immediately. Terror Drone does get the lockdown on that, and actually we have a Nanotech mainframe coming up, so Tier 3 is on the table for Zar. He's also going to try and put more pressure on that Naval Yard. He's going to try and stop Demon from getting any water units up and running.
Okay, have to call attention to this. Demon just built a Sputnik, which is going to end the game relatively soon.
The Sputnik is going to end the game? Is
Sputnik.
That the
Yep,
super,
right there. Sputnik
super
is
unit?
moving over. Yep. But Zar does have an engineer in Demon's base.
Yeah,
but the Sputnik can probably take down the engineer and prevent the super reactor capture.
Oh.
Nope, the Sputnik deployed, and now the engineer is going to capture the Sputnik, but it died.
Yeah, the Twin Blades swinging in there. Yurii Minisub going to get jumped on, and the outpost does deploy. Oh, almost a misplaced refinery there by Demon. Tengu's going to begin emitting into the attack. They clean up both of the Twin Blades, get all 3 of them rather. There's the transform. Strikers are not here, but the Tengu is going to try and find an angle to stop these Tengus from escaping. Strikers on the north side of the map, going to find the oil there, going to find the MCV or a bit of damage. They go for the ledge deploy again. Go for the kill on one of those MiGs, but don't actually get any kills. And these Tengus are trying to find some kind of angle to do damage, but the satellites are going to be forcing them into repositioning, and this Tesla coil is online. Bit of splash damage there on the reactor, though, and the Tengus are actually just hanging out here, so Demon is going to be forced to cancel that refinery. The economic advantage remains with Zar. Oh, this MiG. These MiGs taking a bit of damage from that striker, and Zar is actually going for a psionic decimator. What is this guy doing? He's taken over the entire map. He has no interest in a traditional fight against Demon.
Zar has taken a very significant lead, so he's trying to capitalize on it, but I don't even think the game's going to last that much longer. Surprisingly, Zar does have a very good number of Tengus to contend with any mix or team plates.
Where did things go wrong for Demon?
Probably the Sputnik being built. Wasting that money and then not getting the refinery as well.
When you called out the Sputnik, I was like, I don't even remember the last time a Sputnik was built in a competitive game. He has a Crusher Crane as well, so I mean, he could have moved his MCV down to the low ground. Shoguns are out as well. So it's Waveforms, it's Shoguns, it's a Psionic Decimator. It is almost everything possible from the Empire player against Demon. And Zar got absolutely stomped in game number 1, but here in game number 2, the shoe is on the other foot, and that is the foot of Zar. He is ready to crush the neck of Demon. Twin Blades are going to be committing out over the water. There's a big host of MiGs here as well. Twin Blades do get one volley off on the Shogun, but there's a second Shogun behind that. There's Wave Force on the high ground. It's sort of an encircling by Zar. He's got Demon almost from every side.
Demon has gotten a second airfield, so soon he's going to have enough MiGs to contend with whatever number of Tengus there are, especially with their splash damage. As long as Demon can buy enough time to get MiG shots without being killed off by the Shoguns, he will be able to take over with Twin Blades and potentially make a comeback.
This is a situation where a Soviet player has less than half of the economy of a Tier 3 fully fed Empire player. Wow, that Terror Drone didn't even get the kill on the Yurii mini-sub. Just Demon has been able to do very little with his Terror Drones this entire game. It's not something that we really see. And you mentioned the MiGs. Well, they are now here. So they're going to be able to shred these Tengus, but how much will that even matter? I don't know if the Twin Blades are going to be able to single-handedly win the game, and it's not even enough. The MiGs getting pushed back, the Twin Blades getting pushed back. Now the Bullfrogs are here, so these Tengus are going to have to transform. They're going to have to get on out of there, and the Shoguns have been pushed away, and the damage is not significant. After the high ground refinery went down, Zar wasn't able to get that much more.
I would insist that Twin Blades can make some absolute miracles happen, so we could be seeing major harvester harassments going on right here without... Also, does have a good number of EXs, so that's gonna hold back the Twin Blades for sure, for the time being.
MiG's taking a lot of damage from those Sea-Wings, and the Crusher Crane went down. That was on the high ground. It was hanging out. Twin Blades going to be passing over Zar's base in the middle. You mentioned that we probably wouldn't even have the game last long enough for the Psionic Decimator to fire off, and Demon is going to do as much as he can to prove you wrong. We'll see. He's still got 2 minutes and 45 seconds to wait it out, but Demon is rebuilding his refinery on the high ground, and I don't know, it feels like he's playing from such a disadvantage, but maybe he will find a way to make this work.
Demon's doing splendidly, and you can often see miraculous comebacks made just using Twin Blades. However, Zar does have a good number of Sea-Wings. While they're normally very weak units, they're very hard to target for Twin Blades and can make for some absolute strongholds that are unbreakable in the water.
Once again, this Yurii mini-sub just commits itself to take down that Terror Drone. Twin Blade's going to be hopping over this Shogun, and they actually get it. That's enough to basically one-shot a Shogun. I didn't think he had quite that many Twin Blades, but he does. He has just enough to pop a Shogun and eliminate it, which means this one-by-one Shogun funnel is not going to work out for Zar.
Right now, the most number of MiGs and Twin Blades are getting dangerously high.
And he's got the Crusher Crane back online.
Precisely, and now they're all being brought back to full health. It's just a matter of time.
All right, Zar is going to need something else. He's only got 90 seconds that he has to wait out until he can blast a big chunk of Demon's base or army with the Psionic Decimator, but I kind of expect that Demon might even be able to dodge it. We'll see where Zar chooses to use it. He's still got a lot of Tengus, and with point defense drones, he might be able to find an angle that works. Bullfrogs kind of make it impossible in some ways, but we'll see. Another Shogun is here. Twin Blades are reforming the front line. Sea Wings are trying to get into position with the help of those Tengus, but... All right, Demon actually backs off. He's heading back down into the south. Tengus are committing deep into their own territory to try and go for the save. MiGs do catch some of the Tengus. 2 MiGs do go down to the Strikers, and Tengu's going to be committing into the attack. The MiGs shredding those Tengus. And, well, I guess this another Terror Drone on the north goes for the Infect on that Yurii mini-sub. That is the Terror Drone Elimination Factory by Zar. He has eliminated so many Terror Drones with that Yurii mini-sub.
Precisely, Zar was able to take down the top ground refinery, which is going to make a big difference. So far, he has been repeating the same moves, but for some reason, the results have come out in his favor.
Twin Blades haven't been able to get the kill on that latest Shogun battleship. Demon does at least have a low ground water expansion, so he does at least have that going for him. Terror Drone is coming in for another engagement. We'll see if he's able... Okay, he goes for the Sea Wing, goes for the Sea Wing again, and trying to eliminate Zar's ability to deal with that, but Psionic Decimator is ready to fire off. Could be goodbye to the Crane and the airfields. These Twin Blades MiGs, this Twin Blade MiG combo is just doing huge damage.
Zar is most likely looking for the Twin Blades to commit to something before firing the Decimators. Right now, those are the only threats to his victory.
He gets them all! Right on top of the MCV there, the Psionic Decimator fires off. The Twin Blades get caught, and just after Demon didn't actually sell off one of the airfields. I thought I saw one of the airfields go down, but he still has 2, so he can rebuild the Twin Blades 2 at a time. Demon has about 3 grand in the bank, so he can double build Twin Blades, but he has been low on refineries for most of this game. Zar, he's got his battleship caught on the left side of the map, but he's sharking around the middle, looking for that winning engagement with the rest of his army.
Now, this many Tengus can potentially just straight up go in and end the fight right here. Zar is trying to play it safe, but it would be an extremely unlikely comeback for Demon.
All right, so Zar gets the point defense drones on top of all of his Tengus and VXs. Demon, unfortunately, has an engineer just standing by watching his very almost dead MCV, and he's just waiting for that engineer to jump inside, but he hasn't given the order just yet. Demon zeroes out his bank account. He's got a bunch of terror drones running around the map. He's back up to 4 Twin Blades. He's still got 5 MiGs out on the map, although a couple of them are low on health. And his MCV is finally back up to full health. Terror drones are absorbing a lot of the focus of those Strikers. MiGs are going down. 1 MiG falls. The others do escape.
Demon is relentless right now, and he has actually earned some significant victories.
He gets the kill on that refinery core as well, right as it was going for the kill, or for the deploy, and Tengus actually find most of the MiGs. Satellite gets dropped, but it's a complete miss as Zar dodges at about a minute in advance, and another Shogun battleship is back out on the field. Twin Blade numbers have been rebuilt. Less than 4 minutes until the next Psionic Decimator. Refinery on the high ground has also been rebuilt. Is Demon clawing this one back?
Highly unlikely. He's lost all of his MiGs. And with the center walls, his Bullfrogs can never get to the other side, so MiGs are kind of his only hope.
We'll see if he's able to do it. Demon is going to be losing that high ground refinery once again. Zar is looking desperately for the game-winning engagement where he forces Demon out of this match. MiGs are going to be coming in. They get the kill. The hammer tank does go down from the strikers, and now they can transform to kill off the MiGs while the Tengus deal with everything on the ground. There is still a Shogun out on the water. The GG gets called, and Demon will take the L there. Oh my gosh. Demon just will not die. But Zar, after getting stomped in game number 1, brings it back in game number 2 and takes us to the 3rd match. And we're here on Industrial Strength for game number 3. One of these guys has a lot of experience in tournaments, and the other one, he is someone that we have seen a whole lot less from. But in the north, everyone's favorite player, the Yellow Soviets, this is Demon.
In the south, the Red Empire, this is Zar.
Zar impressing us with his play today and able to take Demon to the 3rd game. So we'll see if he's actually able to win it. So far, we have only seen Zar win a single match at a time. But now he has to win 2 in a row, and 2 in a row versus Demon.
Both of the players appear to commit rather heavily into infantries, but I feel like Zar made a mistake by trying to go for both Ayos with only 3 dojo cores, and Demon was able to easily camp one of the dojos and take the top Ayo. Yet now the bottom Ayo is also threatened by Demon's ample amounts of infantries.
Oh my gosh, that engineer almost died. Zar almost got the just kill on the engineer. But the roar came out from Demon at just the right time, and then the engineer, with only 20% health left, managed to make it all the way into the oil derrick. Ooh, that was very close to disaster for Demon.
Precisely. Well, looks like the next engineer is gonna die for sure, but there's a bear to protect. So Demon is going to easily secure both oil derricks immediately, which is an amazing opening for him.
Wow, so Zar goes for the Mecha Bay next to the 3rd refinery in the south, and Demon just gets both of the oil derricks. Not for free, but certainly for a good price. This is an amazing opening in game number 3 for Demon.
Absolutely, and now Demon is appearing to play very defensively once again. In this series, he has been overly defensive and not necessarily harassing early on. Oh, Zar does get explosion onto one of the Black Troopers by sacrificing his own burst drone, which is very hard to time, so impressive enough. That's going to enable him to get Tengu in.
That was a super sick move by Zar to get that to get the kill on that Flak Trooper. We did see the War Factory get canceled twice by Demon. He built the War Factory, canceled it, and then decided to go for the Super Reactor instead. And then he canceled the War Factory again and is choosing to just send his MCV over to his 3rd refinery location. Or at least that's, I assume, what he's going to do. Zar going a little bit dangerous with the engineer, but he will finally be able to secure one of the oil derricks kind of late in the beginning of the game, but he does finally take that away from Demon.
Demon is expanding very aggressively while turtling at every single refinery, so now he's likely anticipating Zar to go tier 2 with VXs, because that is what can easily break his turtling right now. But Demon has gotten Flak Troopers here to protect against VX, but that's looking to be a waste of money for now, as Zar is actually relentlessly building more tier 1 units.
Oh, that Tengu takes a bit of damage in the main base of Demon. Sentry Gun is now finishing at the 3rd of Demon as well. So I guess the combination of Flak Troopers and Sentry Guns is at least enough that Zar isn't going to try much harassment.
With all of the sentry guns around, those Tengus really aren't going to do much at all, but it would actually be interesting if Zar went for a very risky move and got C-Wings, because they would be able to counter all of the turtling, bypass all the sentries, and kill the Flak Troopers as well. Given Demon's aggressive expansion, that would have won Zar the game, but of course nobody ever goes for that.
That would be a bit of an unusual thing to see for sure. Now, Zar has gone tier 2 on his Mecha Bay eventually, but also he grabbed both of the oil derricks back. So we'll see if he keeps those long enough to actually pay for themselves. But at the current moment, he has denied Demon that extra bit of income. If Zar is able to keep those alive for a long period of time, that may give him a nice little income advantage if these guys stay locked on 3 refineries.
For sure, right now, Demon is trying to regain the map awareness, trying to regain all the visions, as Zar had actually been able to capture both audios while Demon was turtling. And Zar actually has a warrior on the high ground as well, getting vision on Demon's base without Demon being aware of it.
Demon
Also, a
maybe...
Tengu parked.
Oh yeah, over the ridge there. But Demon maybe kind of hearing what you were saying about Sea-Wings. He actually gets a flak cannon over at his 3rd refinery location. So Sea-Wing would have a tough time breaking that. Strikers as well would have a tough time breaking that. No one has captured the garage in the middle of the map, but Zar is starting to break down some of those neutral buildings around the map to deny some of that vision that Demon has. Hammer tanks out on the field for Demon. He is going airfield as well. So Demon has played lots of games off of 3 refineries, and he can usually balance the barracks, the war factory, and the airfield quite well. And then, of course, this is industrial strength, so if Demon takes a 4th refinery, he will most likely get a 5th to go along with it as well, and that'll put him in a really good spot.
Zar was likely expecting Demon to invest further into hammer tanks, however now Demon is transitioning into air, so Zar's response of immediately getting a water rifle out was not really going to benefit him against air, and Demon kind of almost sensed that there would be more refineries and has sent a terror drone over to the water, but Tengus are going to catch it.
In this case, Zar was trying to do the proactive thing to kill off the terror drone, and it kind of just backfired on him as he loses that Tengu to the terror drone. Sudden transport in the middle of the map, taking a bit of damage here. It's got a couple of tank busters in it. He's hoping to catch that hammer tank, but he doesn't. He's going to have to take the consolation prize of a couple of bullfrogs. If he can clear out the bullfrogs while the MiGs are somewhere else on the map, then he could deal with the hammer tank easily. Just one airfield for now, but it's full of MiGs. We got 4 MiGs on the deck, and Demon is now positioned over at that 4th and 5th refinery as Zar is taking his own 4th and 5th. You mentioned the 4th refinery for the Empire player, but it is now accompanied by a 5th.
Very aggressive economic expansion for sure, but Demon has not been very aggressive on land, so that's enabling Zar to expand a lot. But of course, the water refineries are going to be extremely hard to defend against unless you have the extremely impressive number of Tengus, but of course there are MiGs to match that. Your VXs can't really get onto water, so it's very precarious for Empire to really go water refineries against the Soviets at this stage.
Demon also has the combat engineer moving towards that garage in the middle, but I think it's going to get sniped by the Imperial Warrior. A bit of a trade here, back and forth from both of these players. Both players committing quite a few units into the middle of the map in just a hodgepodge of an engagement. Demon still has not taken either water expansion, so at the current moment, Zar's economy is rocketing ahead. They've traded the oil derricks back and forth. They've agreed upon 1 oil derrick per person, but Zar has a 4th and a 5th refinery, and he was hearing what you were saying about those water refineries being difficult to hold, so he got a naval yard as well.
Absolutely, and it would be beneficial to upgrade the naval yard as well to get some Sea-Wings, as Demon is actually unaware of the water refineries even being there for the moment. Otherwise, he would have probably swooped in Twin Blades, escorted by all those MiGs to take some harvester kills.
All right, in the middle of the map, Tengu's going after the bullfrogs. Hammer tanks going after these Imperial Warriors. 1 striker does get caught in the middle of the map, as well as a Tengu. Demon managing to find a couple of kills, and with that garage, he gets those free repairs, so suddenly the Crusher Crane is not as essential as it once was. The refinery gets deployed by Demon, but there's already 2 Yurii mini-subs arcing their way around the north side of the map to deal with that. Hammer tanks come down, a couple of crushes, but Demon is going to back off. Ooh. You love to see the flak trooper harass coming in from Demon. He calls in the satellites as well, breaking down those walls, and the flak troopers are either going to barely get the kill or they're barely not going to get the kill. They do get the refinery, and Demon is getting hit back as this Yurii mini-sub goes in for the attack.
And that's going to equalize the economy for both players.
Twin Blade's going to get the kill on the Yurii. Tesla Coil also coming up as well, so Demon isn't going Naval Yard just yet, but he is going Tesla Coil out on the water. And we'll see if Zar... Okay, he's already got the refinery heading back, so it's going to be 5 versus 4 in a couple of moments. But yeah, for the current moment, it's sort of 4 versus 4 refineries, 1 oil derrick apiece.
Demon is almost finishing his 5th refinery as well. Very soon he will be on even ground with his opponents. Does go into low power, so the Tesla Coil is not going to do much.
That Yurii mini-sub getting a couple of free hits away. Now Zar is at least going to be able to clear out the garage in the middle, so ever since Demon captured that, it was sort of something that Zar needed to deal with, or he would die. Twin Blades get caught in the north. We saw in that last game, the Twin Blades of Demon were so impossible to deal with, but in this case, it's going to be actually Emperor's Rage on top of these Tengus. They've got Honorable Discharge as well, so every Tengu that dies splashes down a bit more of this expansion. Harvesters getting caught by the Emperor's Rage as well means that they move so slowly with that armor activated. Twin Blades getting eliminated makes this a difficult place for Demon to defend. Back in the middle of the map, Tengu's getting shot down by Bullfrogs. Bullfrogs getting eliminated by the forces of Zar, and a couple of hammer tanks could get caught against these tank busters. All right, Bears moving into position. These Tengus out on the water have completely shut down that economic edge that Demon was looking for. Bullfrogs getting pushed away. MiGs finally come in. They trade 1 hammer tank for a MiG for a striker.
Tengu's going for the transform, trying to intercept the mix, but barely missed them.
Ooh, unfortunately for Zar, no big clear wins here. Demon is trading back pretty much hit for hit. The MiGs...
All the MiGs just died.
Oh, they did get caught. Only 1 survived. As the hammer tank goes down, the Bullfrogs are going to blast through those strikers. The MiGs helping out as well. It's just the infantry on the ground. All of the Bears have been eliminated. Zar going crazy on the other side of the map, trying to go for a bit of a cross map and defend back at home. It's only 1 hammer tank. It's only 1 Bullfrog in the main base of Zar. Meanwhile, the Tengus are unanswered on the other side of the map. Zar is putting pressure on Demon while defending back at home, and Demon gets the terror drone infect on 1 refinery, but Zar will escape with his Tengus out of the main base. I think Zar has found a bit of an edge here against Demon.
Now Demon has managed to rebuild both of his water harvesters and is stabilizing it with another Tesla Coil, but with this number of Tengus being there and Demon having thrown away his entire tank army in an attempt to attack in the Tengu's absence, it's going to make it very difficult for Demon to make a comeback.
All right, Demon has rebuilt what he can. Satellites get dropped in the south. Tengu's coming in. Emperor's Rage fires off once again. He's going to get a kill on another Tesla Coil, and I'm not even sure if these Tesla Coils are getting off enough shots to genuinely get their value, but that Stingray did as he lights up so many Tengus in a row, and the Tengus are going to try and escape. Harvester's taken offline for but a moment, but that was 4 or 5 Tengus ultimately committed for only a kill on a Tesla Coil.
It's exactly what Demon needed. And
that was,
now,
yeah, that was pretty perfect by Demon.
Absolutely, with now the unit numbers are equalizing again, and Demon will have a nice chance to crawl back.
I thought Zar had gotten out an edge there, but Demon has just barely struck back. Between terror drones, the drop of some of these support powers, his hammer tanks were a big loss, but it feels like he's just pulled things back a little bit more equal.
Precisely, but Zar is trying to end the game by building a lab right now, going for tier 3.
We'll see if that's something that Demon can match. We do have a couple of Tsunami tanks coming in here, which feels like a bit of a... He's missing half of his army. He just has 3 Tsunami tanks threatening that water expansion, but I don't know that that's really going to be able to do anything. He pulls them back, and we're once again in this weird pattern where both players are trying to Zar is happy to play to the extremities of the map. He's happy to go anywhere and everywhere. And so Demon is actually being kind of taken for a ride as he tries to defend all of these locations.
Of course, Empire is just overall so mobile with all of their units. Demon has tried to lessen that by building sentries everywhere, but when the Empire has such a massive army size, sentries simply aren't gonna matter a whole lot.
Tengu's in the main base, Tsunami's at the third, and Zar is putting a bit of damage on Demon, but in this case, he might be just giving gun upgrades to these hammer tanks. They are going to be able to leech down several of these Tsunamis. The Tsunamis are not going to get the kill on the refinery, and Demon will find 2 gun upgrades. He's going for the big harass in the main base, though. Zar is going to try and trade back for some damage. Demon cancels his battle lab. I think that was maybe just for a building block, but maybe Zar can find the advantage in Tier 3. Zar is going to catch a couple of MiGs in the middle of the map. At least, unlike the Infinity Isle game, the Twin Blades and the MiGs are not getting out of control. Zar has been cutting down those air units of our Soviet player one by one and actually keeping them in check.
And now there's Ionic Decimator announcing that Zar now has Tier 3, and Demon should be aware of it now. But there isn't really much of an army for the Decimator to kill at the moment. We'll have to see.
Shogun Battleship is back on the map, and some of these games, it feels like Zar should be able to finish the match, like he should be able to just send everything in and bust down the front door, but Demon's defense, I guess, just makes that impossible. We'll see if the Psionic Decimator can crack the front door. Battle Lab gets started for, I think, the 3rd or the 4th time now by Demon, but I think he's going to keep this one. Ships passing in the nighttime on the right side of the map. Kula subs just completely past that Shogun. Let it go free.
Now it's going to be very hard for Empire to defend against a Soviet Kula army, as Empire's naval units simply aren't particularly good against this, but Naginatana would actually make sense in this case because his opponent has no Twin Blades to kill it. But looks like Zar is going to lose his water refinery as the naval yard goes down.
Now Wave Force Artillery are threatening the front door. Demon is going to have to make one of his big stands. And I mean, it's only 2 King Onis. It's okay. It's a bunch of Tengus as well. This kind of gets weird with the infantry. Potentially the infantry could shred those hammer tanks, or Demon could get all of the crushes on the... is this super reactor gonna go? The Shogun and Battleship is right on the edge of range there. This could decimate Demon's army before the fight even begins.
Looks like the Psionic Decimator is going to be a waste of money and will die to the Kulas right now, before they even target down any refineries.
They go for the naval yard, and they go for the Psionic Decimator. That really cuts down what Zar is able to do. The super reactor on land does get sold off, but Demon has a backup one out on the water, so that Shogun Battleship will eventually die to the Terror Drone, and these Akula subs, one of them has gone heroic. They're just blasting through everything that Zar has out on the water. Demon has suddenly put a timer on this game. If Zar doesn't win with this next fight, he might just be out of the game entirely. He has lost so much out on the water, and Demon feels like he is taking monstrous control of this game.
Absolutely, Demon has miraculously cut back on tech and managed to cut down his opponent's economy so that Demon is now on top.
I called out Demon for missing the Shogun on the right side of the map, but if that was intentional or not, I think the Akula subs bypassing that Shogun and not revealing themselves to Zar was definitely the right call. Zar has let those Akulas go unanswered, and now they have completely broken his back.
Exactly. Zar was only going for a single Shogun in the naval yard. If he had built any more of them, it would have been hard for Akulas to break through.
This Wave Force Artillery on the high ground has actually been doing a lot of work.
Indeed, but Twin Blades are going to come in and finish him.
Oh, point defense drone, save it! 10% health, and the point defense drone saves it. Sudden transport on the north side. Sudden, what do you have in...
Yurii units for sure.
I was going to say, that seems like a weird spot to send an engineer. It's a Yuriko. The perfect read there, as XYHC is probably swelling with pride at seeing a Yuriko in a 1v1 tournament. One Twin Blade won't be enough. Two Twin Blades might be enough. Nice.
Together.
Oh, the jump into that sudden transport was perfect. Bullfrogs are here. There's one more Twin Blade. One Bullfrog gets eliminated. Is this Yuriko and the Wave Force going to force Demon into like a weird end game engagement that he doesn't want? Oh my gosh,
as
the Battle Lab just
keeps on pressuring in the front, he will be able to.
The Battle Lab just got sold off. The Twin Blades get sent in 2 at once, but this is a fully heroic Yuriko, so she can withstand the damage. Magnetic Satellite is going to try and catch that, but that's a Tier 2 satellite on a Tier 3 unit. It just doesn't matter. Has Zar done it? What in the world is this game? GG gets called. What? Oh my gosh.
Wow.
What? Oh my gosh, Demon had that game, and then Zar with the Wave Force and the Yuriko pulls it back.
So much back and forth. The Yuriko was definitely the winning factor there, because the only way Demon could kill the Yuriko was by pulling all of his army back, which he could not afford to because of all the King Onis camping in the front.
What an amazing game number 3. A series that started off with a boot stomping into Zar by Demon and looked like it would be short, brutal, and demoralizing. Turns into a 2-1 victory for Zar, sending him to the grand finals versus DDF. Zar has beaten Pika. He's beaten Dutch Army. He has now beaten Demon to send him into the grand finals. What a run from the lower bracket this guy is having. And let's waste no more time. Let's jump into the grand finals. Welcome to the Grand Finals Best of 7. Once again, a big, huge thanks to Inspector Rage for putting on this event, for donating the prize pool, and making the whole thing happen. In the north, playing the Red Empire, this man has had an incredible run through the lower bracket, but now it is all coming to bear. This is Zar!
And on the bottom, as the blue random, and the randomness has given him Empire, this is DDF.
DDF.
We're about to see an Empire Mirror, which we haven't seen from Zar. We'll see how well he fares in this matchup.
Yeah, we got to see Demon in an Empire Mirror, which is a bit of a different beast, but Zar is a proper, actual, full-time main faction Empire player. And Libra, once again, DDF is a Soviet main that sometimes plays random, apparently, but honestly, I haven't seen DDF in a tournament match, I think, since the beginning of this year. So it's kind of interesting to see DDF come back from, I guess he was playing in Chinese events and on the Chinese server, and now seeing him back in one of the, I don't know, rest of the world events, European servers, you could say. And he's just absolutely smashing it, and he is going to be the final boss for Zar to face off against.
Precisely. Ooh. Zar loses an engineer right away to a dojo.
Oh, shoot, I missed that. But Zar going for...
Oh, yeah, it's in the middle.
Going for an additional engineer. I guess he wanted the observation post?
Oh, he wanted to go in for the other Oil Derrick, which would have been extremely risky, of course.
I can't even believe that someone was trying to do that. That's crazy risky. So Zar maybe making some lapses in judgment. And we saw in the DDF Demon Empire Mirrors like how thin the margins were across all of the games. And Zar making a mistake like that right at the beginning, or right near the beginning. We'll see if it ends up kind of being the first domino to fall that leads to Zar losing this game, but maybe he can bounce back.
Absolutely. Losing a dojo and an engineer in an EVE matchup is gonna set you back in Tengu numbers, and Zar is indeed down by 1 Tengu. Fortunately, Libra is not really trying to push in right now. Instead, he was trying to clear the vision in the center, but decided it wasn't worth it.
DDF's defense against Demon was not quite perfect, but it ended up winning him those games. He took, in some cases, he took a lot of damage, and then in other cases, he just didn't take much damage at all. So if DDF's defense can be as good as it was in his series versus Demon, I feel like this is going to be a really, really tough match for Zar to win. I guess Zar could try and just sit back and, you know, take his foot off the gas and just try and be the defensive player, but I don't know if you want to take that risk against DDF. It's kind of a difficult spot for Zar either way.
Agreed, and Zar currently playing defense is not really benefiting him as he is losing all of his vision, all of the map awareness he had fought over.
Yeah, unlike Demon, DDF is not going for the big harassment plays that we saw. In the next minute, maybe DDF decides... Oh, actually, DDF goes tier 2 on his Mecha Bay. Finishes up right there. Nope, Zar has not even started tier 2 on his Mecha Bay, so...
That is almost recklessly soon, because normally tier 2 units cannot really do much unless you have a significant Tengu lead.
But if Zar...
But of course the VXs will help with engagements.
If Zar is going to play defensive and DDF wants to play defensive, then he just gets his tier 2 first, and... For the current moment, it feels like Zar has the Tengu advantage, but unless Zar, you know, manages to catch DDF in a weird angle, there's nothing that DDF, or there's nothing that Zar can do with his Tengu numerical advantage.
That is correct. Of course, the VXs are transformed in order to keep up with the Tengu army, so that's, in fact, that will indeed, like you said, benefit DDF in any Tengu engagements.
Maybe Zar can identify this and pull something out. You mentioned Zar's vision getting cut back, and there has just been a completely empty map from Zar. He had a ton of vision at the beginning of the game, and it has all been choked out. He does have one Tengu going on the harassment path way down into the southern part of the map, and I suspect that that Tengu will eventually find its way into DDF's base. Still no tier 2 for Zar.
There is a tank buster on the high ground from DDF trying to take down Zar's other audio derrick, which would definitely give him a massive edge, but right now the tank buster is being microed perfectly to avoid Tengus hiding to garrisons. It might be worth it for Zar to just transform all the Tengus and take down that garrison altogether.
Yeah, it's the perfect spot for DDF, but it does require that micro, it does require that attention by DDF to keep that tank buster alive. Only 2 strikers from DDF. He went 2 strikers after his tier 2, and then he is just committed back into Tengus. DDF escapes with the tank buster once again, but there was enough time there that I think the Tengu could have gotten the kill if he had transformed in time. Zar is sharking around the map. Force fire on the ground. Point defense drones, I assume, are going to come in as DDF arranges all of his units very carefully. Yep, there's the point defense drones. DDF has a massive point defense drone landing on all of his units, and this is going to be a big advantage for him.
And in the earlier game against Demon, we saw how deadly it is to not have your point defense drone right away, and now Zar's trying to immediately relocate his Tengus back to his base in order to safely apply point defense drones without risking the base harvesters dying. And he is actually going to make it in time, so now that's not going to cause a lot of major casualties for him.
Wow, okay, DDF literally just wanted to kill the oil derrick and was happy not going in on the engagement. He could have tried really hard to punish that and kind of rolled the dice on that moment to transform on top of Zar, but DDF doesn't. He doesn't do anything rash. He doesn't do anything risky. He goes for the ultimately safe move, which is to strafe the Tengus until they transform and then kill the oil derrick. And DDF...
Fantastic planning and composure.
It's very passive. It's very non-confrontational, but, I mean, it's the, right move on paper.
Absolutely. DDF is very able to hold back from temptations to strike, but is instead always planning for the long game, for the long term. Killing the audio derrick just means that now the game is shifted to his favor, and Zar is going to be forced to engage, because the longer the game goes on, the further Zar will fall behind at this point.
Zar scraping the bottom of the barrel, his income basically flatlining, well, his bank account rather, flatlining. And DDF, too many D names in this tournament, but DDF is floating up to 2K in cash in the bank. He is confident enough that he has kind of paused production on his Mecha Bay. I don't know exactly what he has planned for that, but he's kind of holding things back for the current moment.
And now the refinery gonna be caught by Tengus right away, but the Tengus did not spot it and are not going in for it.
Ooh. All right, Zar is going to try and find the angle here. He's going to get the oil derrick behind this, so even if he loses this battle, he is at least going to have that equalizing factor. There's a tsunami tank down on the ground, but no one is transforming their numbers, and it's just way too many Tengus here for DDF. Zar is going to be forced away, and DDF has a clear Tengu advantage. Did he get any Harvester kills on the back end? It looks like the answer is no. DDF gets the additional power plant. He gets that extra Harvester. He gets that refinery out onto the field. And Zar is sharking around that third refinery location. He is hoping to kind of make this a win by killing off the refinery, but DDF is going to defend it too well. And Zar has so many fewer Tengus than DDF.
Again, fantastic defense by DDF. It's gonna be hard to top DDF's defense, and when the game is tipped in his favor, and he is able to hold his ground so well that it's almost impossible to break through.
Zar did deny a little bit of mining time, and he killed the oil derrick, but in just the sheer number of Tengus that went down, what does that even matter? Zar is going to have to do something pretty crazy, or DDF is going to have to make a huge mistake to equalize things from this point.
Exactly, especially since the refinery core was not killed by the Tengus. Instead, the Tengus had to go back to help the VXs with the oil derrick kill. So now DDF is at a very significant speed and even has tank busters to protect the new harvester.
Oh, perfect there from DDF. Zar, he knows that he's behind on the economy. He knows that he's behind on the Tengus, and I don't even know what his hope is here. There's the big transform. Striker does transform as well. So at the very least, the tsunami tanks are going to be forced to go forward to deal with that Striker. But again, the numbers are just on the side of Zar. On DDF. The RNG on the side of DDF as well. The death animations crashing into Zar's own units. A little bit of friendly fire there unintentionally. And now DDF has finally taken the... he's woken up to his alarm clock. He has been very defensive this entire game, and now he's actually bringing the fight to Zar for almost the first time in this match.
And apparently DDF never goes in for a fight unless he knows he can win it. Looks like he will potentially seal the deal here.
Emperor's Rage comes in as well. Tsunami's getting the kill on that refinery, so it's soon going to be 3 refineries to 1. And I don't even know from Zar's perspective where exactly he went wrong, but DDF has been ahead for so long, and he is just sealing the deal perfectly. GG, as Zar takes the L there in game number 1. But he lost game number 1 against Demon as well. And it sends us to Cabana Republic for either the equalizer or where one of these guys gets an even bigger advantage, because playing as the blue allies on the right side, this is DDF.
And playing out the Red Empire, on the left side, this is Zar.
Ooh, Zar in this particular tournament is a specialist at killing blue allied players. But is he a specialist at killing airfield first blue allied players? We shall see. First burst drone gets sniped by DDF, and that Apollo being seen by the burst drone is a perfect telegraph to Zar. He knows exactly what has happened. He knows exactly the build that DDF is going for. He just, well, I guess he doesn't know exactly, but he knows it was an airfield first, and that starts kind of ticking some things off in his brain. He's like, I got to watch for this. I got to be worried about that. If he's going super hard, I got to be thinking about this. It's not going to be a cryo play, though.
And now Zarkai has kind of wasted money on the turrets. But of course the turrets could potentially help Tengus fend against Apollos, so building a single turret is a rather safe move. Deploying your mecha bay that far away from the turret is not going to benefit the particular thing I talked about though.
We'll see if Zar is able to make it happen. He did lose one of his barracks on the north side, but he got the oil derrick for himself. Power is coming back online. Mecha Bay did kind of send him into low power mode, but the power plant is at least building, so soon power will be restored to Zar. And DDF, he's opening up this series with a 1-0 victory, and if he's able to just control it through playing random and also by just controlling the momentum, he could knock Zar off balance and then completely just sledgehammer him.
DDF's Apollo is on the high ground, having perfect vision on Zar's base, so he knew Zar was wasting money on an additional power plant and turrets, which is why he went for 3 Vindicators and then immediate expansion. That's gonna be the perfect response for turtling.
Zar gets a nice, DDF gets a nice economic advantage. He kills off the oil derrick of Zar. He knows exactly what Zar has done. And these walls are even going to be preventing Zar from doing as much as he wants with those infantry.
Looks like Zar was also aware that DDF has gone for a water expansion because he has gotten warriors all over the map, so now some Yuris could be very annoying for allied players to deal with, especially on Cabana Republic.
An additional barracks does get deployed by Zar, but it will get cleaned up by those Vindicators. It does mean the Vindicators, okay, it's going to be a multi-gunner turret to deal with the Yurii mini-sub, a Riptide as well. There's a Naval Yard here for the repairs, so even if this Harvester takes some damage, as long as it doesn't die, it can be restored. Multi-gunner turret does get eliminated. Imperial Warriors are here keeping that constant pressure on that refinery. Zar going, I don't know what he's going for. He's getting torn apart by these Riptides, and that Yurii mini-sub might just have to sacrifice itself on the refinery and get the kill. It does! So he completely neutralizes that refinery. He's going to be forcing DDF to either rebuild it or abandon this position. Those Imperial Warriors put up just enough damage that it caused a problem for DDF.
Absolutely, and not finishing walling all of those garrisons was a little oversight by DDF. And again, I think it was daring for Zar to go for a naval yard right away instead of going for early Tengus, but it has worked out extremely well for him.
Third time might be the charm with this dojo in the north. Zar has tried 3 times to capture DDF's oil derrick, and maybe this time it will actually work. Tengus on the north side of the map, potentially looking for a place to engage. DDF is aware of this dojo once again, but he pulls his Vindicators. He's worried more about those Tengus. So Zar will get the oil derrick. He will gain back that bit of income. He will steal away the cashback bonus from DDF. And Zar still has his Defender VX back at home as well. So he's always got that bit of a stronghold to potentially fall back to if he comes into a dogfight with DDF.
And at the moment, DDF really is not in a position for any dogfights at all. His 3 Vindicators pretty much just have to sit in their base forever, as this many Tengus are flying around. And at the moment, DDF is clinging on to his life, trying to fend off the annoying Yuris going for suicides at this water refinery.
2 Yurii mini-subs, 2 multi-gunner turrets, 3 Riptides. 1 Yurii does get caught. That was maybe a bit of a mistake there by Zar. Both Yuris get eliminated, and he does not get any value for them realistically. I mean, maybe some lost mining time, but that really is a small victory for Zar in terms of losing 2 Yurii mini-subs. Command Hub does get spotted out in the north, so DDF trying to go for an expansion onto the high ground, and Zar just will not let it happen. Apollo does not get killed. It does get tagged, but not killed.
DDF would have to break through the Tengu clouds somehow. Looks like he's trying to go mass eco, having twice his opponent's economy in order to handle the Tengus, in order to have the money to afford another airfield.
Well,
but for now the Tengus can easily contain the 4th refinery.
So DDF goes for the high ground expansion, but Czar also goes for the high ground expansion. Czar pumping quite a bit of money into trying to sink this water refinery for a second time, but it's not as successful the second time. Assault destroyers and riptides, multi-gunner turrets as well, are a good enough defense that Czar is not able to break through.
Czar's trying to set up some... DDF rather is trying to set up some turrets to secure his refinery spot. His refinery is ready to deploy.
Yeah, I'm actually
but he is not dropping it.
I'm surprised that Czar has let DDF get that command hub completely up and running. And yeah, now he's got 2 multi-gunner turrets up there, and it'll take a while for that refinery to pay for itself, but it will eventually pay for itself.
Absolutely. Now landing the Tangus would be very risky, as DDF does have 3 hove indicators.
DDF, once again, it looked like he was in trouble, but he's played this one out so cautiously, so defensively, that maybe he's actually going to pull something out of here and just knock down Czar once again. All right, Yurii mini-subs come in.
Absolutely, Yuri's.
Splash.
Yuri's do get through this time. Almost did not.
Ooh, he gets the refinery. He gets the multi-gunner turret as well. So again, it's not a good engagement by Czar, but at least he's getting something for these Yurii mini-subs that he keeps building.
Absolutely, but for the number of Yuris that have been built, DDF has done an amazing job on defense, like you said. Just holding back those Yuris, it's surprising he hasn't lost like 8 refineries already.
DDF slowly but surely keeping his refinery count high. I also love the riptides or not riptides, the javelin soldiers and the assault destroyer watching over that airfield. It means there's basically no way for a couple of strikers to show up and get these units while they're on the deck. With only 1 Apollo, there isn't a lot of air-to-air, as you've pointed out, but this airfield is also pretty much unassailable from Czar's army. Oh, the refinery goes down. That water refinery meets Davy Jones once again. Czar just finds a way. I thought DDF was done defending that location, but no, Czar breaks it down.
Oh yeah, and pressing onto his advantage, Czar's going for his own 4th refinery, heading onto the top, and it's going to be very hard for DDF to have vision up there, as his aircrafts cannot move around freely.
This is feeling so awkward now. DDF, it felt like he had gained control of the game, but Czar somehow has this way of making these games really kind of weird back and forths that end up going in his favor. He did it against Pika, he did it against Dutch Army, he did it against Demon, and he's looking for a 4-way repeat to do it against DDF.
Absolutely, and Czar is very relentless with pressures on all fronts. There's Yuris on the bottom, there's warriors on the top, everything's being threatened by him simultaneously.
DDF has put so much into defense that it feels like he's missed a step somewhere. He's got 3 assault destroyers, but I don't know what his next move is. Maybe if he had snuck one of these assault destroyers out and gone to the other side of the map to go for some harvester harassment, crushing a harvester, breaking down a power plant, something like that, he would have a bit of more of an advantage. But yeah, is Czar just going to break down this expansion on the high ground?
Eventually, given time, he will, and with the assault destroyers, it would have been nice to go for harassment earlier on, but right now, because DDF is so lacking in anti-air defense, there's nothing he has to possibly counter VX. So now those assault destroyers kinda are just useless and able to go on offense at all.
All right, Cryo Shot does fire off. A couple of Imperial Warriors do get caught here. There's multiple multi-gunner turrets here. Tsunami tanks are going to be forced to push away, and that Cryo Shot was just perfect to completely break up the army. And the Imperial Warriors, I think, were going to hope to clear out those buildings, but they didn't clear a single building. So DDF just got a bunch of free damage as Czar's army got locked on itself and bumped into itself and ended up just completely doing nothing in that moment.
Yes, and that's in conjunction with a massive number of peacekeepers that DDF has invested in placing into the garrisons, which is going to do such incredible amounts of splash damage, so that it's going to be extremely hard for warriors to rush in without anything tanking for them.
All right. We now finally have multiple airfields worth of Apollos. DDF is not making the same mistake that Pika made in skipping cryocopters. DDF has gone for an ultimately triple airfield. He's got cryocopters as well, and his defense has worked out. He held that high ground expansion, which I was worried that DDF was going to lose that, but the fact that he held that and he pushed back Czar's army now means he's in a really good spot. Maybe not a really good spot,
again,
but at least he's in a better spot.
Indeed, and the Apollos were hidden from sight until the final review. All of a sudden, 9 Apollos onto the Tengus without Czar really having much time to react to it. And now going in for the engagement as well.
Triple Vindicator plus 9 Apollos is a very powerful allied force indeed. The defense up at on the high ground was perfect, and now Cryocopters, Apollos, and Vindicators are moving out to the northern side of the map. Czar has seen this. They flew directly over his oil derrick, but I don't know what power he has to stop it. It looks like he's going to hope to cross-map.
Indeed, and after the Apollos are no longer occupied on the top, the assault destroyers can also strike a death blow at the moment, as there are no VXs that can safely transform to take them down, given the number of Apollos.
All right, 1 Apollo does get grabbed back in the main base. The refinery does not get taken down. Instead, DDF calls off the attack. He's hoping to catch these Tengus on the transfer, and they do get a number of those Tengus. The Strikers do transform. They clean up 1 Vindicator, 2 Vindicators go down, and the Tengus will keep the Strikers safe for now. So that did not go nearly as poorly as it could have gone for Czar. That was almost a game-ending engagement. But Czar holds on to hope. He holds on to that 4th refinery.
Alright, DDF has spammed .5 cryocopters at this point. They can easily shrink down all of the VXs. In fact, they can actually win him the game right now if he goes in, which he is going for.
The Tengus commit to the attack, but the Apollos are here. That is way too many Apollos. There is no hope for any small number of Tengus versus this many Apollos. It's just not a numbers game. Strikers on the ground, clean up 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 Apollos. That cuts down the numbers, but the Tengus have already been thinned out. The Cryocopters are going to be getting pushed back, but this feels like an okay trade for DDF and not a monstrous victory for Czar, which is what he needed.
And if you look at the top with the refinery, Czar has actually never rebuilt his harvester. Over time, this is really going to lose him the game.
Czar got the oil derrick, he got the fast 4th refinery, but he's not actually really making use of those things.
And he also lost another refinery on the high ground on the top left.
Oh yeah, that one got cleaned up, and now DDF is coming back to the north to finish the job. He's got cryocopters, he's got a dolphin, and Czar might as well sell off this refinery. It's kind of too late at this point. Goodbye, refinery. Unfortunately for Czar, DDF is, I don't know, maybe the best defensive player in the world? Certainly, whenever day this tournament was played, DDF was the best defensive player in Red Alert 3 on this day. And it's just, it is feeling so impossible the way DDF orchestrates these situations that Czar has to engage with perfectly to be able to get anything done. All right, DDF.
I agree completely.
DDF is kind of, oh, cryo shot on the Tengus. Oh, every tsunami tank just gets obliterated. You can try as you might with those point defense drones, but it just doesn't matter. Czar looks away for a moment. His army gets caught, and normally top-level players are so good at dodging cryo shot because they have to be. And that one was one of the times that it just gets missed. You're looking somewhere else, and then 6 tsunami tanks get annihilated.
absolutely unfortunate, and especially since the Tsunamis could have gone for some amazing harassments, as the Javelins would struggle to really relocate to the other side. And now the tier 3 slot for DDF, a aircraft carrier is here to seal the deal.
On top of that, the Harvester for the rebuilt refinery on the high ground of Zar is not doing anything. So Zar is kind of getting outplayed, but it really sucks when also the units aren't working the way that they're supposed to. One of those lovely things about watching a game that was made in 24 hours and EA didn't allow post-release support, so... Yep, aircraft carrier is leaving port, and yeah, you said it. It feels like that was the last thing that DDF needed. Oh, Shogun.
The Shogun battleship is odd.
Yeah, that's super
Could
cool.
be locked down easily, of course, since there's also cryocopters to stop them.
Yeah, the Shogun battleship is like, I will win the day, and then immediately gets EMP'd, frozen, nuked by the hydrofoil, and killed by the assault destroyers. Ah, Zar is getting the kill on some Javelin soldiers with his Imperial Warriors. That's pretty cool. But the Strikers are going to be showing up. They're going to be able to take down this assault destroyer eventually, and the Javs will get the kill on a number of those Strikers. Aircraft carrier is bombing the refineries from a great distance. Zar's refinery on the high ground still isn't working, so he has 3 refineries, but he is about to have the income of 1 refinery. I do like the attempt at cross-mapping by Zar. Even if he kills off both of these harvesters, both of these refineries, it feels like DDF still has such an advantage to win the game from that position. But I like the attempt by Zar. I appreciate the going all out for the kills. Hydrofoil getting some...
very solid attempt.
Hydrofoil getting some free damage on those Tengus. And yet, there goes the refinery. So Zar has 2 refineries, but he only has 1 harvester actually working. Cryocopters freeze everything on the right side of the map. Dolphin is here to break down a Tier 3 Imperial docks on the left side of the map. And when you're losing your Tier 3 production facilities, it feels so, so bad. Oh, he saves it! Oh my gosh, he saves it! Okay,
wow.
That's super sick, but it kind of feels like, I don't know, a grain of sand going in the right direction, and the whole rest of the Sahara Desert is going in DDF's favor.
Well, another grain of sand going in the right direction is the top left refinery is now online with the walls being sealed off.
Yeah! I don't know that that matters, but that is super good. I'm glad that Zar finally gets his harvester. All right, DDF is still playing this one out super cautiously, and Zar is still playing very actively. So even though DDF has felt like he's had a big advantage, Zar is not giving up. And maybe Zar will find some kind of miracle engage. He kills 400 cryocopters and a bunch of aircraft carriers, and he just finds a way to win the game. It seems very unlikely, but, I mean, it's technically possible.
It's admirable how safely DDF is playing. He could have ended the game like 5 minutes ago, and now he's going for it. Mass cryo, the shrinks on V-axis, it's going to be unstoppable. Oh, the cryos are clumped up. They're taking splash damage. They're all taking major damage.
2 cryocopters just get... 3 cryocopters get completely eliminated there. It kind of, again, just feels like a grain of sand, but Zar is, you know, he's getting something done. DDF is going to pull back. DDF has $3,000 in the bank, so, you know, he's still got a bit of bank to fall back on. Main base refineries are nearing depletion if they aren't already depleted. Yeah, it's less than $4,000 all put together, all 4 of them put together. Aircraft carriers moving out, Apollo's cryocopters. I mean, the cryocopters, a couple of them are at half health, but it almost doesn't matter.
Really does not.
Czar rebuilt his main base refinery once. He's going to have to do it again. Shogun Battleship is going to get a couple of shots off against these assault destroyers. Tengus are maybe finding an angle, but EMP locks down the Shogun Battleship, and that assault destroyer in question actually did survive. EMP on the high ground catches one of the strikers, and I'm not sure what Czar could hope to do from this point.
The quadcopters aren't even bothering to shrink anything anymore. They're just breathing straight up.
DDF, if he gets lazy, okay. Czar just sold off his MCV. Even by selling his MCV, he did not get back to the same amount of cash that DDF has in the bank. DDF had $3 grand in the bank, and Czar's income shot up for a moment, but it's like, it still is not even the equivalent of what DDF has. It is the long, slow death of Czar here in game number 2. Perfect 2-game opening by DDF. It looked like Czar might have an opportunity to make the comeback, but the GG gets called, and Czar had been slowly getting blood dry for 10 minutes there.
About that long. Czar did have a dojo up over there, kind of half upgraded, but he never had the chance to get Yurii odds, and even if he did, Cryocopters would have easily ended it, but Yurii could have been one way to make a comeback if Cryocopters were elsewhere. But yeah.
Too bad. Let's jump into game number 3. Welcome to Temple Prime for game number 3. A map that I always love to see, even though I know lots of players don't particularly enjoy playing on it. But let's see how it fares for this guy on the left, the Red Empire. He needs your cheers. He needs your support. This is Czar.
Over on the right side, as the Cyan Empire, this is DDF, who is dominating the series.
He's playing random. He is dominating this tournament. Knocks down Demon, and then Demon almost knocks down Czar. But Czar wins the day, climbs all the way through the lower bracket to end up here, and is now just getting dominated by DDF. EVE, it could go anywhere. It could be anyone's game. And at least Czar will be getting the oil derrick in the north, so that is nice. That's pretty much uncontested.
And the southern oil derrick is going to be where DDF is devoting most of his attention, so most likely he will secure that and be able to hold that for a long time.
DDF has made his choice. There is also the burst drone slowing down the ore collector of DDF. I'm not actually sure how many seconds that adds to the round trip. It's not much, but it is a little bit of a slowdown there. Mecha Bay is coming up from DDF. It's a bit delayed compared to the Mecha Bay of Czar. He's got his Mecha Bay up and running already. First Tengu should be pumping on out. And, well, they're both doing the burst drone annoyance thing, which, of course, isn't a big deal, but it is funny to see.
And again, for an EVE on Temple Prime, it's kind of odd that nobody is going for additional dojos to get some tank busters into the opponent's base, or going for transports for tank busters. Again, those garrisons around could really be detrimental, especially in a Empire matchup.
Czar did manage to at least grab one of the garrisons near DDF's base, so he does at least have that going for him. DDF takes the first win in the Tengu fight. He gets a kill on a Tengu of Czar, but Czar did manage to get a little bit of health off of the Harvester of DDF. We would normally talk about lost mining time and kind of slipping away of the economy of DDF, but we talked about all of that in the series versus Demon, and then DDF just dumpstered Demon. So DDF has a way of losing mining time, but winning because he's just so much better at catching his opponent's tangos.
Absolutely agreed. And the thing is, DDF is overlooking any defenses with the huts, so it would actually be very worth it for Czar to try some tank buster actions.
Ooh, Czar has a barracks on the south side of the map, so that may be something that Czar is able to do. Something he's able to cook up is a couple of extra tank busters. We will see. One Tengu from Czar is pushing away the units of DDF on the northern oil derrick. And On the south side, Zar manages to get one Imperial Warrior out of that barracks, so could be some tank busters heading the way of DDF.
Well, the dojo is going to be camped by another dojo core from DDF.
Oh, nice. I didn't actually see that dojo core sharking around the map, but there it is. DDF is going to try and dislodge that Imperial Warrior from that building, and Zar is just putting more and more Tengus directly over top of the base of DDF. Zar will eventually kill that dojo core on the left side of the map, which is stopping his barracks from being effective. DDF is, I don't know, making some kind of a defense, but he can never leave his base because there's so many units of Zar overhead.
So far, neither player has been able to gain a major economic advantage. Looks like the audio derricks are going to be the contest points, as neither player can really make a move against the other person within the base. Zar does have an engineer heading towards the southern side audio derrick,
All right.
as he loses the audio on the top.
Yeah, DDF strikes the oil, but Zar captures the oil in the south. DDF also loses one Tengu in the middle of the map to Zar. So little teeny tiny trades here and there, but still just massive Tengu numbers from both players. There was a moment there while Zar's Tengus were on the other side of the map that DDF maybe could have transformed everything to try and get a trap while Zar wasn't paying attention, but that moment has kind of passed, and now Zar can just transform as well and have more than enough.
Precisely, things are looking very good for Zar, but DDF is counting on getting the points defense drones, which he will get within the next half a minute.
He actually went tier 2.
Ooh, tier 2.
So he got a striker. He gets the transform on the Tengus. He actually transforms all of them, so he doesn't leave any on the ground. DDF is now just trying to chase down Zar and find anything that he can. He's going to get 2 Tengus in the middle of the map, and Zar is going to try and trade back as many as he can. Zar has reinforcements coming in. Strikers do go for the kill, but they get cleaned up, and it's going to be a transform against a transform. Zar hoping to clean up DDF as he transitions back, and Zar's getting free kills. Free kills on the low ground. DDF is going for the kill on the oil derrick of Zar as he comes back, but DDF is just completely lost in his own mind. He just let so many Tengus die for nothing. Zar has the Tengu advantage. Point defense drones come in from both players. Once again, the Harvester off the line. DDF's defense has been near perfect in some of these other games, and he's going to need it to be perfect here in this game against Zar.
Some of the Tengus were caught out of position, but now with the Tsunami tank odds, DDF should be able to stabilize for now.
And Zar hasn't gone tier 2 on his mecha base, so it has been pure Tengus this entire time. We'll see if that actually wins him the day. Point defense drones on both sides, and those Tsunami tanks might be the difference maker, or Zar will just play around them and they'll be useless. Striker on the ground. Zar trying desperately to find the angle on these Tengus. Big transform from DDF. Zar is going to pull up to the north side. Okay, he cuts and runs. He doesn't try and find a secondary angle. Maybe he goes for the Tsunami? Zar down 0-2. Needs to play this one out close to perfect to be able to win this series versus DDF.
Zar does have his own tier 2 odds, and some VXs are out as well. With his superior Tengu numbers, those VXs can easily dominate any Tsunamis.
2 Tsunamis, 2 VXs on the side of DDF, but he really needs to find the perfect angle to cut down the numbers of Zar. Zar has 2, maybe 2.5 times the Tengus that DDF has. DDF won this kind of a position against Demon by playing extremely defensively and extremely smart. But if he's out on the map trying to hunt down Zar, I don't know if it's going to work out the same way.
I absolutely agree.
Zar dislodges DDF there in the middle of the map. And Zar, he's just happy to pull back and let this one play out a little bit longer. He knows he has the numbers advantage, and he's hoping that he can just find the way to win without making any mistakes that give away his lead.
DDF is now currently the more offensive one as he has split it off a Tengu on the bottom, trying to get some harassments going.
This is feeling very reminiscent of a game we saw earlier today. And the colors are a bit different, but it worked out better for the player with more Tengus. We'll see. Maybe Zar's defense won't be as good as DDF's, and DDF will be able to get more done with this Tengu harass than Demon was able to. But the Tengu harass ended up working against Demon because DDF's defense was so good.
Absolutely, and Zar is in a very good defensive position, having 5 VXs that can easily take down any Tengus that land to harass.
Zar, yeah, he's got no tsunami tanks. That just kind of clicked that, yeah, tsunamis have been the thing that Zar is missing. But as you've pointed out, he doesn't need the tsunamis if he can handle the rest of the engagement.
Precisely, but if things keep on going this way, DDF would eventually accumulate enough tsunamis and enough VXs to deal with any of the strikers, or choppers rather, in the air. So eventually he is looking to end the game in a very spectacular direct confrontation.
That one Tengu is still deep in enemy territory for DDF. He hasn't sent it in for the harass just yet. DDF moves out into the middle of the map. These Empire Mirrors, they have a way of being a lot about positioning, not much else. Point defense drones re-established here for DDF. He's going to be able to take down all of Zar's strikers, and then I guess Zar will just go for the transform, or maybe he just retreats. I don't even know what happened there in that engagement. Zar probably still has enough Tengus to still just win the fight straight up if he could jump on the strikers, but the strikers are going to wait for that perfect moment to transform.
Might have been a good idea to land the Tengus to take down those landed strikers faster, because the point defense drones clearly caught Zar off guard, so he was not able to win the engagement.
Striker comes in from Zar to clean up that harassing Tengu, and DDF says, I'm here to stay. If you want to win this game, you are going to have to dislodge me from your base. Tsunami tanks looking to poke and prod. Strikers getting a little bit of free damage on those Tengus. No transform from the Strikers. Good split by Zar. So even if the Strikers transform, Zar would have won. A perfect control here by Zar. He loses his Strikers, but he kills everything of DDF. If he had been able to keep one of his original Strikers alive, he might have been able to kill off more of those tanks as they retreat. But DDF barely manages to escape with almost all of his Tsunami tanks. The rest of his army is gone, but he still has the tsunamis.
It's a very dangerous number of tsunamis as well, backed up by a good number of strikers.
That almost was the game-winning engagement for Zar, but DDF is so slippery. He always manages to sneak out with just the right units so that Zar can't win the game.
And another sneaky Tengu from DDF. If he gets a kill on the Harvester, that's going to seal the deal. Right now, neither player can afford any losses.
I like this. They've both sent a Tengu to opposite corners of the map. They're doing the exact same thing, almost at the exact same time, and it's just going to be maybe a net zero. As well, Zar actually fully commits everything to the right side of the map. The Harvester goes down on the left side of the map, and Zar is looking for the big kill. He manages to catch one Striker. He keeps a couple of Tengus in the sky in case the Strikers go for the transform, but it's a Harvester kill for a Harvester kill. And Zar goes heroic on this Jet Tengu. He manages to escape. He keeps alive that heroic unit, but he loses the Tengu on the north side of the map. It's a Harvester for a Harvester and some lost mining time for DDF. Zar
turned out rather even, just like you predicted.
And Zar has the Tengu advantage still, but those tsunami tanks are so much of a threat from DDF.
Yes, and DDF is actually leaving one tsunami behind in case any Tengus go for further harassments.
Neither player has sold their MCV, so there always is a chance of going for a third refinery or trying to do something else. I can't imagine anyone would go for tier 3 in this position, but maybe one player feels confident enough to go for a third refinery. DDF comes in for a potential another engagement in the south. Sooner or later, someone's going to get Emperor's Rage or Final Squadron, but it hasn't happened yet. Striker's going to be able to come in here for Zar. DDF does get jumped on. Can the Strikers actually survive? Zar managing to get a bit of harassment done on the other side of the map, potentially, as he transforms his Tengu over there, and the Tsunamis will go down. But can they kill this final refinery? And no, one last Tengu comes in for DDF, but the Tsunamis go down, the refinery is saved, and a Harvester ends on the other side of the map. I think that's a GG for Zar. Does Zar take that game?
Absolutely. On the other side of the map, Zar did manage to get a Harvester kill as it was an elite Tengu, so the Tsunami was not able to fire down at it fast enough before it got the Harvester.
Whew, finally, Zar gets a win.
Absolutely, DDF lost all of his army and had no economy to back it up.
But it's only one game. It's a best of 7, a long series for Zar to make the comeback happen. Let's see what happens in game number 4. And that sends us to Infinity Isle for game number 4. The orange allied player on the left side. This is DDF.
And on the right side, the Red Empire. This is Zar, who is making a surprising comeback and might stand a chance in this series now.
It is a 1v2 in terms of the map score. And Zar, well, the last time he was up against an allied player was just a couple of games ago on Cabana Republic, and it did not work out well for him. But Infinity Isle is a very different map, and even if Zar doesn't really know how to play against DDF on this map, this should be the map that Zar is the most experienced on. He will have the best feeling for how an allied player typically plays out this map, what to do to punish and harass them, and how to deal with all of the tools that they have in their belt. And we'll see what DDF can throw at Zar and how much Zar can absorb and bounce back.
DDF will sell off his barracks. Looks like he's not wanting to commit to some massive infantry engagement. Going to transition to airfield to bomb down the Dojo Core.
So double refinery into a walled off airfield. He is happy to play this one out a little bit closer to his main base. Ah, okay.
DDF
Zar
does have a delayed tier 2.
Oh, wow. DDF went, tier 2. So now that is going to be the potential of cryocopters onto the front line as Zar goes for a third refinery before Mecha Bay. Zar was not expecting DDF to do this, and we'll see if these cryocopters are able to punish. I guess it would be kind of amazing if DDF went tier 2 and didn't get any cryocopters, but the first one is already starting to freeze that Mecha Bay on the other side of the map.
It's very interesting that DDF was not trying to capitalize on Zar not having power, not having turrets up already. Instead, he's trying to shut down the Mecha Bay, so trying to play the long game, not really willing to take immediate interests. Again, a great degree of composure from him.
But he's about to get it.
2 cryocopters.
Yeah, what is he going to do? I mean, DDF hasn't killed the Mecha Bay yet, but he's got 2 cryocopters here. That low power mode made this even more difficult. Fast third refinery, late Mecha Bay. This Vindicator is now crossing the map. There's enough Peacekeepers back at home to pretty much deny anything. Hopefully this freeze times out, but no, it doesn't. DDF knows what he is doing. Another power plant gets taken offline, and Zar is in dire straits. Maybe he'll be able to pull something out here, but it's already looking like a 3-1 for DDF in the map score.
Indeed, very good composure to not waste any time or production time on the Harvesters and delaying the Vindicator so much as well. And again, DDF, the reason DDF was able to surprise Zar like this was because he delayed tier 2 and got a very solid two refinery openers, which you never see with Cryo Rush.
And this has, I thought this was going to be a solid game from Zar, but this is just the farthest thing from a solid game from Zar. The nice thing for Zar is that there's only one Vindicator, so you can only bomb out 3 things at once, and selling off a power plant doesn't get you much of an advantage in this case. GG gets called. Zar takes the L, and I don't know. Do you have any final thoughts on that game?
Well, it's nice to see quadcopters dominating like that. Well, they're just such a magnificent win condition. If you don't have a good number of counters, they just end the game like that. But again, very surprising to see DDF not try to even go for any harvesters despite his opponent having 3 refineries. But then, what's money good for if you don't have your MCV or Mecha Bay?
And in that case, Zar he read the situation wrong. And it's like going for that 3rd refinery was suicide, and he tried to fix it when he realized it, but those defender cores got him nothing done because, of course, low power mode. So that'll do it for game number 4. Things are looking dicey as we head into game number 5. And as we progress further in this series, we are running out of maps. So welcome to Snowplow for the next game in this series. Will it break the man in the north, the Red Empire player who needs to play perfectly to make the comeback happen, to keep the dream alive? This is Zar!
And over here on the bottom side, we have again randomness has given DDF the Cyan allies. Can Zar get revenge on the allied cheese this time around? We will see.
I don't want to make any bold proclamations, but random and allies on Snowplow. Obviously, it's a 1 in 3 chance. Zar has to have this in the back of his mind, but when he chose Snowplow, he was probably praying for anything except allies on this map.
Absolutely. As data has shown as well, allies do have a very good matchup on Snowplow, especially against Empire. There are so few ways you can punish turrets, and there are a lot of options for allies as well. So far, we're seeing the same opener from DDF. Whether he's going to go for, oh yes, and he's going for another airfield as well. Oh. Looking like he's not going to tech up to tier 2 immediately, but we're gonna see whether he delays it.
Dojo does get deployed on the right side, and the Javelin Soldier will force that away, so I guess at the very least, Zar gets a couple of kills there. He kills off the dog, he kills off the Javelin Soldier, that's always nice. Mecha Bay comes up in a respectable time for Zar, so he is not going to get caught totally unawares. We do have something finishing up for DDF, and he is also zeroing out his bank account, so if this is tier 2, he's not going to have much more beyond that. It's not tier 2. It is a refinery. It's a fast 3rd refinery for DDF.
Very daring, considering in the last game he just lost in the exact same fashion going against the exact same build order, except this time DDF is not really going for quadcopter anymore.
Yeah.
And is instead going for his own refinery to match up the expansion.
So Zar will get that refinery up a little bit later than DDF, but they are both going for 3rds. Mecha Bay was out much sooner than that previous game, and actually he goes straight to tier 2. Okay, and the first Tsunami Tank is going to try and evade. Oh, he snuck it out. This is perfect by Zar. He did want to hide that Tsunami Tank, and he was able to do it. So maybe it was the wrong call going for the Tsunami Tank first, but if you're going to go for the Tsunami Tank, at least he was able to hide it. At least he was able to escape notice, and we'll see if that Tsunami Tank is able to win him the game.
Right now, VXs are unable to pop out. You can see that the VX production has been paused, because as soon as one gets out, it's $1,200 gone. So instead, Zar is choosing to delay his production to wait all the way until the defender turret is up to force bombing.
Yep, and in this case, it is at least keeping DDF from doing anything else. We do have Peacekeepers moving through the middle of the map. They're kind of getting delayed by the buildings that Zar has taken, and there is going to be the first Striker popping on out, and a Tsunami Tank as well. So behind that Striker, a second Tsunami Tank was being constructed, and we've seen other top players do this as well. Demon does this very nicely with a Hammer Tank and a Bullfrog playing as Soviets, but we now have 2 strikers out on the map as well as a Tsunami Tank. Lots of targets for this allied player to potentially go for, but this is the double airfield play.
rather Zar does have advanced advanced rocket pods to force fire down some of the Vindicators, but of course it's still going to be very difficult to contend with this many Vindicators at this point using just VX.
Is the choice a Defender core? What is Zar's move here?
He will have to eventually transition to Tengus when he stabilizes. He just has to wait until his opponent makes a mistake, and of course perfect transform micros, saving the VXs, one of them at least.
Unfortunately for Zar, the perfect Apollo positioning beats the perfect transform micro. Tsunami Tank is going to be spotted by the power plant of this allied player. Can he get a Harvester kill? It looks like the answer will be no. There's more than enough Vindicators coming in to deal with that Tsunami Tank. And when you've got double airfield, the one single Tsunami Tank just doesn't have the same value that it would if it was only one airfield. So unfortunately for Zar, everything that he is trying is getting countered and beaten by DDF. Zar does have pretty good vision of the map. That is maybe the only thing that is going his way, and that, of course, doesn't really earn him anything. It's just nice to know.
Alright, Cryocopters are out, hoping to potentially end the game. They will be able to quickly relocate to the top refinery to take it down without any VXs being able to catch them.
Well, the Tengus have no hope of catching those Vindicators on the return to base. The Harvester in the top left did go down. It has almost been rebuilt, but as you mentioned with those Cryocopters, rebuilding it might just be a sort of short solution to the problem. Oil derricks getting cleaned up.
With the majority of Zar's anti-air being on the ground, it's going to be very awkward for him to go around trying to catch Cryocopters and Vindicators. Keeping VXs in the air is a good move so they can relocate faster, but it's still not going to be quite enough.
All right, Harvester is coming in perfect timing here by DDF. He gets the kill on the refinery. One Vindicator does go down. Apollos are going to escort the Vindicators out over the water, try to keep them away from those strikers on the ground. At the same time, a Tengu does transform on the other side of the map, and it looks like the Oil Derrick will go down. So a couple of hits back for the side of Zar, but overall it feels like DDF is just getting massive wins everywhere that you look.
DDF did lose 2 Vindicators on the way back, as their pathing happened to coincide with where the landed VXs in the base was. So right now DDF only has 2 Vindicators, and there's some amount of hope for Zar.
Another Tsunami Tank in the south goes down. Another unsuccessful harassment for Zar. He's been trying to cut down the economy of DDF, and it just has not worked. On top of that, Zar thought DDF was going to go for the Harvester at his refinery, and so he built a backup refinery, or a backup Harvester, on the high ground. 1,400 credits down the drain because, of course, the refinery is what actually got killed, not the Harvester. So Zar thought he was being proactive, thought he was doing something really good, and it ended up backfiring on him.
Couple of Tengus sneaking around the side of the map, possibly gonna make something happen, but with this many Cryos in the air, it's just going to be difficult. Might just be worth it to try to build up Tengu numbers until you get point defense zones.
DDF has deployed a barracks and a war factory into the middle of the map. He is not playing this one out from a slouch. He is still staying active on the map and progressing his tech. So his production is not, just falling flat. He is kind of making all of the right moves. He can do basically whatever he wants, and he's clearing out the map as much as he can. Zar was in a tough situation, and it's only getting tougher from this point forward.
With Tier 2 as well, DDF can go into some Guardian tanks escorted by an ample amount of anti-air so that VXs can't really stop them, which Zar is aware of, so he's starting to build some tsunamis again, just for defensive purposes.
He gets a dojo as well, so he will have the barracks to potentially put out Imperial Warriors and Tank Busters, but that is very much a reactionary move. He is hoping to stay alive. He's not really forming a plan to end the game and win it.
Absolutely, while swagging as well, trying to buy as much time as he could. At this point, DDF would be wise to just stop the tank production, which is what he's doing. He's going to try something else.
I feel like either going for tier 3 or going for the kill on that third refinery again. Spread out the defense of Zar.
Absolutely, he's very close to getting tier 3,
Yep.
and will now go for artilleries.
Yeah, so he finishes up tier 3. 2 airfields, a barracks, and a war factory all get upgraded at the same time. And I mean, from this point, we expect Mirage tanks and Athena cannons. It didn't work out for Pika on Infinity Isle, but that was a very different game to this one. Zar trying to clean up some of these bridges. With how air-focused DDF has been, it feels like these bridges are maybe the least of his worries, but I guess Zar is, you know, maybe a little bit cautious that the tanks are going to come around the side or something, and he just doesn't want to worry about it. He doesn't want to think about it.
Absolutely. Well, the allied army is being very carefully unmasked without any rushes for just pushing a single artillery forward. By the time DDF is ready to push in, he's going to be able to protect this army. So it's going to be very hard to pick anything off like we saw in the previous games.
Double harassment comes in, but Vindicators clean up those Tengus, and DDF should be getting his units back online, his harvesters back to work. Yep, there he is. So you mentioned the Athena cannons, but yeah, he's being conservative. He's got Mirage tanks coming out as well. One very happy Christmas tree is guarding that Athena cannon at the current moment.
Yep, and now Zar is going for some Tengus, hoping to be able to jump onto the infantries as well as the artillery. But right now, with such thin Tengu numbers, it's gonna be difficult, since Mirages are being produced.
It is really nice for Zar that DDF has cooled off the Harvester harassment. There's been no eco damage for the last couple of minutes for Zar. So that is really nice that DDF has just kind of paused that. The only thing we haven't seen from DDF is a naval yard and an aircraft carrier, which could, of course, EMP most of the army of Zar. Ooh, Apollo's looking for the engagement. Tengus and Strikers hoping that they will find the perfect angle, the perfect way to engage. Multi-gunner turret and an ore refinery are here on the right side of the map. DDF may not be striking down the economy of Zar, but he's hoping to gain an advantage by making it 4 refineries to 3. DDF already killed off all of the oil derricks, so now he just wants to take a positive advantage in building a 4th refinery.
Right now you can see DDF placing all of his IFVs in the very center of his base, not really defending anything, but he's really anticipating some combinations of Tengus and VXs, which is potentially the only thing to break him. But wherever that army comes in, he will be able to quickly relocate the IFVs to that side of the base.
And we keep seeing this hunting process from DDF. The Apollos will sweep out over the whole map, looking for any stray units or any kind of angle of engagement that they might be able to find where they can get a kill here or there. DDF, again, he is maybe at the current moment the best defensive player in Red Alert 3. He has the macro, he has the micro to back it up, but his defense is just unbelievable in these games.
Fantastic as well, with the Apollos cutting down those VX's escaping path, and not having the bridge is actually going to force some VX's to stay behind after landing.
The IFVs are trying to chase them down, go for the big engagement. Cryocopter's going to be committing in. While the anti-air is away, the Cryocopters will play. Not as much damage as was technically possible, because the Vindicators dropped all of their bombs at once, and one Apollo does go down. 3 Apollos do go down, but these are small victories on the side of Zar.
However, Zar has been trying to amass more Tengus, and now he has a good enough number of Tengus. With the Apollo numbers cut down, he's going to have a lot more freedom flying around and potentially even landing on Athenas.
That is a fair point. The army of Zar has been slowly and steadily growing. He got that barracks up and he was able to get out a good number of tank busters, so he always has that as a threat. Of course, Guardians, Mirages can deal with infantry quite easily, either through blasting them down or just crushing them, but it does mean that there is hope still alive for Zar. Of course, his tournament life is on the line here. He is down 1-3 against the winner's bracket champion, and he has to do this basically twice.
DDF is in no rush of winning the game, of course. He is very solidly turtling his base with 3 turrets in the front, and he has just scouted to confirm that Zar did not have another water refinery, which he now does, but earlier DDF was not aware of that. So he is just trying to play out the long game.
DDF trying to sew up all of the potential places that Zar could come back, and he does kind of miss one there. I'm really surprised we haven't seen a naval yard, we haven't seen an aircraft carrier to be able to shell Zar from a distance, to be able to use that EMP.
It is a very good point. However, those carriers could be very expensive, and the majority of Zar's firepower is really in his infantries. And of course, EMPs don't really freeze units for that long. It's good to buy a few precious seconds, but against this many infantries, those few seconds won't really matter.
We are also in the range of Cryogeddon being online and available. I'm not sure exactly where DDF is on his upgrade tree, but he must be close at this point. 1 refinery struck down in the top left-hand corner, but the top right has gone undetected for the current moment. DDF has been very consistent with the scouting, so I expect that DDF will be able to spot that out at some point, and adding on the additional airfield and filling it with Apollos, maybe even 2 airfields. Yeah, he's got 4 total now. Means that there are just so many Apollos for DDF. He has so much anti-air.
And the DDF actually wasted a upgrade point on the high technology upgrade. So right now he does not even have Cryoblast yet.
Oh, wow. That actually is a bit of a good thing for DDF, or for Zar. Zar might be able to find an angle on some cryocopters. There's so many Apollos, and now they're over the water, which means the choppers can't engage, but the Tengus can. They're going to commit into the attack big time. They do save this power plant for now, but they won't save the other one. This is one of those things where DDF is looking for any safe engage he can. He does not care if this game takes an hour. He will not make a mistake. He will not take a fight he cannot win. He will not take an engagement if there is a better one in a slightly more awkward position. Never mind! I just said all of that and he loses all 4 cryocopters. 7 grand down the drain. Vindicator as well.
That's unfortunate.
Zar, he's got too many harvesters in the top left.
Indeed, and the reason DDF threw away the cryocopters was because he was trying to get Cryoblast onto one of the harvesters. And now another harvester being produced.
Oh man, Zar with these extra harvesters. He now has 3 extra harvesters that don't have any place to go. He could lose 3 harvesters and still not have to build another refinery. Mainframe core is coming up though. And okay, there, DDF has finally spotted the top right expansion. Tengus are going to try and engage. DDF has been ahead on income for a while now, and he wants to keep it that way. Vindicator is coming way out to the right side to try and go for the kill on that refinery.
And right now, as all of the air units are occupied, the Tengus and the X's could actually go into the base to do some damage, but they're not in a transformed position to do that.
Apollo's going to be engaging against these Tengus. The refinery does go down, but Tengus with point defense drones will win the day, or maybe they won't, as these Apollos go heroic and double vet. They shred the Tengus. I thought with point defense drones he would have the edge, but no, that is 4 airfields worth of Apollos. Maybe even 4.5 airfields worth of Apollos. It is so many Apollos.
Can't be any safer than that. It's surprising that the Tengu was even waiting for a moment.
DDF is just so meticulous with these engages. And maybe Czar would be able to find some kind of engage while DDF is way off on the other side of the map. But Czar is clearly so either lacking in confidence or just scared of DDF that he is unwilling to engage. He is playing this slow bleed, losing game where he can't ever step out onto the other side of the map. He's always playing defensively. A bit of a mistiming there on the refinery, but DDF does get the kill regardless. And there we go. Another refinery struck down. Czar has built refinery after refinery after refinery, and he still only has 3.
And right now, rebuilding refineries would not be ideal for Czar at all. He has tier 3 up, he wants to get tier 3 units up, but he just keeps on losing refineries, and he is still investing most of his money into rebuilding.
DDF doesn't have a huge ground army, but he does have a huge air army, and he has 4 multi-gunner turrets at the front door. So anytime you try and walk into that front door, you're not just fighting his ground army, you're fighting those cryocopters, you're fighting those multi-gunner turrets. And DDF is playing out like a pretty boring to watch style, but I also have a hard time faulting him for just playing a really solid defensive style and playing close to perfect.
Precisely. Whenever he went on offense, he always ensured that there was no way his opponent could stop him, like in this case right here.
Czar has to win this game and win 2 more after that to keep his tournament hopes alive, and he might be able to do it, but that is a tall order. And from this position, oh, by the way, DDF takes another expansion out on the water, bringing his refinery count up to 5. So even more of an economic advantage.
And an aircraft carrier is odds, as you have pointed out before. And now that there is a good amount of tier 3 army from Czar, DDF can actually do some miracles with the EMP.
Well, he lands the EMP, shuts down a couple of tsunamis, and the Vindicators are going to be able to come in for the defense, kind of. Trades back and forth here. Czar is getting a couple of shots off against DDF. I still don't know that it will be enough to make a difference, but maybe this could be the beginning of the snowball rolling down the hill and flattening DDF. He's going to try and take this opportunity. It could take down the tier 3 Mecha Bay, maybe. Tengus go for a transform. That was ill-advised, as the Apollos light them up, and that's an MCV that is now frozen solid. Wave Force Artillery gets taken out, and these cryocopters are looking for the exit. The Tengus can't even kill the Apollo, because if the Apollo crashes down, it will take that MCV with it.
Alright, in the center, Czar is pushing forward for one last desperate attempt. The army seems lacking, but he could... Oh,
doesn't matter.
That's not going to stand a chance against that many tsunamis. I mean, Mirages.
Cryogeddon fires off as well. The GG gets called, and Czar, hoping to throw all of his chips into one final basket, doesn't have the ground army to stop DDF, and that is it. A 4-1 victory for DDF. The Cinderella run of Czar will end with DDF crushing him.
Well, nonetheless, Star has had an amazing series throughout the tournament. He's beaten 3 pros that we never expected for him to beat, so fantastic work on his part.
Overall, a lovely tournament to have. A big thanks to Inspector Rage for putting this one on, giving $50 to first place, $30 to second, $20 to third place, and a random draw of $15. These are not, $1 million prize pools, but Inspector Rage has been putting his own money on the line for close to a decade now, just supporting Red Alert 3 tournaments, and it's so fantastic to see him doing that. XYHC, any final words?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to this, and we've seen some fantastic games today. Lots of amazing skills demonstrated by the players, especially DDF, who was able to play so solidly the entire time. Quite defensive for sure, but always making the safest moves. Amazing code judgments that were bringing him to the victory. So fantastic matches, lots of back and forth. I was really enjoying this stream, so thank you very much for having me.
Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and this is Cyber signing out.